properly
Oh
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I
Well,
can hear you nice and
okay,
clear.
okay. So the first question is, are you sure you want to do this? Do you really want to defend the New Testament? I guess that's probably the first question because as we are seeing, Christians are not able to to debate this topic of the reliability of the New Testament because they see those already existing debates out there as a mistake, never to be repeated. So it's like less than 1% of their debates really deal with this topic. And here you are, a new Christian, and you're left to debate and defend the reliability of the New Testament. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
Well, of course, defending your faith when it comes to faith,
Hmm.
uh, obviously you have to defend what you believe, and you should have good reason to believe what you believe, right?
Right, right. Well, I agree with you, but the
And
problem is you're trying to defend the indefensible.
well, that's subjective, God bless you, but that's
Mhm.
subjective. I saw the debates you sent me. Bart Ehrman, Jay Dyer, William Campbell. I saw the debates, and I get your perspective now. Like in our first debate,
Mhm.
my perspective was and my approach was a lot more theological, and yours was more academic. And hopefully, in this debate, we would have the same academic approach, at least at
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
So
Okay,
I
sure,
was
no
watching the
problem.
debates. Yeah, I was watching the debates, and however, the one thing which I noticed is that the person, the opponent of the Christian, whether an agnostic or atheist, Bart
Mhm,
Ehrman is one of them, and their approach is always that they deny the church history.
mhm.
They overlook the church history. For
Right.
example, the early church fathers, and basically they deny the whole chain. Well,
Mhm,
they don't deny it. They just keep questioning it, and
mhm.
even realizing that yeah, it might be true, but they just don't accept it.
Well, the problem is, like for example, we invited many Christian apologists, like Inspiring Philosophy. We invited others. Nobody,
Yeah.
whether it's Sam Shimon, David Wood, or any of the Christian apologists, will ever dare debate this topic. So that should show you something, Ahmed, that there's a problem here. There is an issue with whether this New Testament is reliable or not. People are refusing to engage in like debates like this. And here you are. So that kind of shows you, Ahmed, there's something wrong there, right?
Uh, well, again, that's subjective, but I do remember that Sam Shimon did debate you, didn't he? Like I did see a video of
Yes, yes,
him
but not on the
uh,
he doesn't defend the Bible. He cannot debate like
with you.
reliability of the Bible and things like that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, what I have learned or what I have observed when
Hmm.
it comes to Sam Shimon is that there are obviously problems with
Can,
his
can, can you give me
demeanor.
can you give me
But
1 minute? Just give me 1 second here. I just gotta
yeah, of
grab
course,
something.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were
Yeah,
talking about Sam Shimon.
yeah. I was saying that there are some questions about Sam's demeanor,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
of how he treats the callers. And
Hmm.
I saw his video with you, and the way he was, his approach is a lot more aggressive.
Hmm.
Mine is not. However, though, what he says is that the questions which the Muslim apologist asks are can easily be, you know, turned
Hmm.
onto the Muslims themselves, and they won't be
Yeah,
able to answer.
yeah.
So his approach is, sorry for cutting you off. His
Mhm.
approach is like he says that what the Muslims ask us, they cannot answer it themselves.
Yep.
Right. This
Yeah.
is his approach. Like the famous question from Ahmed Didat. Show me one verse in the gospel where it says, Jesus says, I'm God, worship me."
Hmm.
So his approach is enveloped. Obviously, a lot of people's approach is that, okay, can you show me in the Quran in these exact words where Jesus says, "I am al-Masih"? So this is what they do, right? They take the argument, they they take the argument of the Muslims and they turn
Right.
it over. So if you have
Yeah.
a criteria of an argument, you should follow your own criteria. That's
Hmm.
what they say. You should be consistent with your own argument. You know, this
Right.
is their approach. But let's see where this goes.
Sure, sure. I'll tell you what. Why don't you take five? We could just have we'll do the same thing we did last time, where you could take 5 minutes. Well, I'm sorry. Let's just we need to back up. And the first thing, which I think was where we left off last time, you were supposed to find if there's any kind of scientifically correct statement in the New Testament, which of
Yeah,
course people
in
could
the
not
New
know of,
Testament.
could have not known back then. Is there anything like that that you found?
Yeah, I do have two examples with
Hmm.
me right now.
Okay,
Now,
sure.
I'm an old school person, so I don't keep a phone with me, but I do keep an old register with me.
Okay,
So,
so let's see. Let's
what
see what in.
I
Yeah, let's.
study.
What
Yeah.
verse are you talking about? I'm going to share my screen and we can look at this together. Okay, what verse are you talking about that you're thinking is a scientific, like miracle type statement in the New Testament?
Uh, First of all, I'm gonna go to First Corinthians, which was also written by Paul. So I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 15:41. And if you want to know the version is KGV. It
Well,
can be
let's
any
look at and
version, it doesn't
let's
matter.
just pull up this. Let's just pull up this verse right over here. Okay, there is okay. So there is one glory of the sun and another
Yeah,
glory uh, of the moon and
yeah,
another glory of the star. For one star differ. Let me get that out
differs
there.
from another star
Yeah, let
i-
me.
in glory.
Okay, so what exactly are you thinking here scientifically correct?
So I found this verse and I looked into it and I looked into the history of astronomy. And I found that like this is a passage from the Institute of Creation Research.org. You can go look it up on Google if you want. So it says to the ancient naked eye, and especially at the time of those people, the time of Paul when this was probably written, to the ancient naked eye, the stars looked identical, only varying slightly in brightness. However, modern astronomy has proven that stars are vastly fundamentally different from one another. For example, in terms of chemical composition, size, temperature, and luminosity, aka brightness.
Wait a
So the thing
second.
is, yeah,
I am totally confused. This verse is only talking about glory of these things. It's not talking about all the science that you're talking about. I
yeah,
mean,
but
are you reading
I
into the text what's not there?
what what I am pointing out here is the last line of this verse, 1 Corinthians 15:41. Let me repeat it for you.
Okay.
So there is one glory for the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. This verse should have been completed here, but this is where it gets interesting. For one star differs from another star in glory. So this is a distinction between the stars. Like it's clearly like in the text that one star differs from another. Now the thing is to the ancient naked eye
In glory, meaning
or
you
the
can
human eye.
literally hold on a second. You can look up in the sky. You can see that like there's one star that's a little bit brighter than the others. And people do have favoritism towards stars, but this has nothing. There is no science. I am looking in this verse. You are interpreting. I think what you're doing, you're reading science into the text. Look, what I'm asking from you. What I'm asking for you, when you claim that the Bible has explicit scientific statements, it should be explicitly written there, like what we saw in the Old Testament. Okay. it should be this. You need to do a better job than this. There shouldn't be all this interpreting into the text. And I think this verse means like this. Glory is kind of like this. Okay. No, no, no. That is not when we talk about things matching up with science, it's got to be explicitly written with no inferences and no interpretation game. Okay. Do you understand that, Ahmed?
Yeah, but weren't you interpreting the verse of the Quran with judges back in our last debate?
No, 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 I'm not. I don't play any interpretation game. So no,
Or
no, no,
alcohol
absolutely not.
causes more harm than good, and you showed me an article on it, but it
Yes.
wasn't word to word, but it was basically saying the same thing.
No, no, no. I don't play any interpretation games at all when it comes to the text. When I say something agrees with modern science, it has to agree with modern science. I mean, it's
Okay,
got to be explicitly
yeah,
written. No
let me
interpretation, glory games, or any of the stuff. Okay.
let me grant you that. And however, you can go to our earlier debate and you can look it up.
Yeah.
So according to you, glory doesn't mean that, difference in glory doesn't mean that they're actually different. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, they're different in terms of glory. That's all it is saying. It has nothing to do with any of the scientific stuff you're reading into it.
Now,
Ahmed, this is
like, yeah,
silly. Ahmed,
but
this is
sorry for
silly.
cutting you off. But here's the question: if the stars uh, are similar to the naked eye, only varying in luminosity, brightness, how can one make a severe distinction that one star is different from another star? Because back in the day,
Hmm.
back when Paul wrote Corinthians, there was no such thing as modern astronomy or studying stars. Stars were basically all the same to people.
No. Where's your evidence for it?
Go to the Institute of Creation Research. You can look it up on there if you want. However,
Okay.
you would have to search for it
No.
because there are a lot
So
of.
you're saying that people believe stars were all the same back then, even though you can look up in the sky and you can see that's not the case. Look, let me help you out. Okay, let's go pull up Google. All right. And let's see if this is did people make differences in stars in ancient times? Okay, let's just go there. Yes, ancient people meticulously categorized the night sky. They differentiated stars primarily based on how they moved, fixed stars, okay, and it also in terms of their brightness as well. Okay, so this is clearly all very like brightness and color. Did you see that? So one can look up the sky and see one star is so much more glorious than the other. So again, let's not. So I think maybe you might have been misled on this issue here.
Yeah, but the thing that you need to see here is that what do you mean by glory? Like
It's yeah,
when I'm reading this, sorry, that
yeah.
from one star differs from another star in glory. What do you interpret glory as?
Okay, glory meaning just it's like really amazing, very nice to look at, and just pretty. That's what I understand. I mean, see the text doesn't see the thing is when you say Nadir, what do you understand from that? What the problem here, Ahmed, is that it is not explicitly written in the text what the author meant by it. And but what you're doing is that you are just trying to infer, oh, I'm sure the author meant this. I'm sure he meant all these scientific facts, Ahmad. Do you see the problem
Well,
here? You're making a lot of assumptions and
the
inferences.
inspired word of God leaves room for interpretation, don't you think?
But
Unlike the
no,
Quran.
no. But the thing is, no. Yeah, of course, there are things which can be interpreted, but you got to have like evidences for your interpretation. And it's also very common that people just read into the text what they want it to say. These texts do not explicitly talk about any scientific fact. It just says glory. Okay, that's that is not talking
Can't
about
I?
science.
I,
You need
I'm
to. All I'm saying,
I'm
you need to be a
sorry,
little
but
bit more explicit.
uh, can't I say the same for you?
If I
I'm
do
sorry
it,
in advance.
no, no, no. If I do that, then you can catch me and you can say, Nadir, you're reading into the text what's not there. But yeah, definitely look, the same rule applies for you. Same rule applies for everybody. Like for example, when I said in the Quran, it explicitly says, don't drink alcohol. There's no interpretation game there. When I said in the Quran, it explicitly said that the alcohol exists in the veins. That was explicit, no interpretation game or any kind of inferences or reading into the text was not there. When I said Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made three scientifically correct statements in his condemnation of alcohol. The third one was that the harm of alcohol outweighs any benefit. That's explicitly word for word agreement with modern science. So no, I didn't play any interpretation game. I make sure not to. And again, Ahmed, what I always rely on, I rely on others. Like for example, when I take this to agnostics and atheists, do they see what I'm seeing? They're like, yes, that's exactly right. So you got it. That's why it's so important to talk to other people. So, like, if you look at the people who have commented on the videos, atheists and agnostics, they do agree. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam corrected 6 scientific errors in the Bible. So that's how I know I'm not playing any interpretation game. Ask other people, talk to other people, and say, "Hey, is this really what is being read over here?" So okay, let's move on to the next one because obviously this is clearly not talking about anything explicitly with science. You're just kind of interpreting it in there, Ahmed. Let's give a better example. Could you have any other example?
Well, okay then. If you want another example, I will go to First Timothy 7 or Timothy 1:7.
Okay.
So look it up.
And another problem, these are all bogus because Sam Shimon and all the Christian apologists will never endorse what you're saying. They will never make the claims you're claiming, and they will never debate these things because they are all silly, Ahmed. They're not going to want to humiliate themselves by trying to bring up these silly points. But let's go to 1 Timothy. What is it?
First Timothy 7, or you can also write Timothy 1:7.
Okay. First
For
Timothy
God has
7.
not given a spirit of fear. Starts with that.
Okay, First Timothy 7. Okay, this is a design. Okay, do I got the right verse?
Let me read it for you real quick. For God has not given a spirit of fear, but of power and of love. Does it say that? That's 1:7 should be. Where did you go? Nadir? Nadir? Where did he go? I think it's a connection or something. Uh, okay, this is awkward. Just gonna make my second point. Probably look really weird from this angle. He said there can't be interpretation in this. However, though, unlike the Quran, the New Testament is the inspired word of God, and that leads to interpretation. It can be interpreted, unlike the Quran. But don't worry, I will get to him, you know, later in the debate. Yes. He brought up the interpretation issue that you cannot interpret and uh, connect dots to science. You cannot connect anything to science based on your own understanding. But we'll
Uh,
see.
Ahmed,
Uh,
I'm sorry. I booted myself out by accident. I apologize. I'm back here. Okay,
I
so I
was so concerned. Like I was like, is it my phone? Like is my phone acting up? I was like so concerned.
okay, so I've got the verse here, but see, my point is this. I keep going back to the Christian apologists who I believe are the greatest evidence that Christianity is false. They know. They will never, I mean, these things about scientific miracles in the New Testament, they will never debate that because they know it's nonsense. So, see, they research and they see, okay, what can I debate and defend? Reliability of the New Testament is not one of them. So, we now know, that they know that this is all nonsense. There's no reliability in this book. There's nothing miraculous. But okay, you don't want to take my advice? Okay, fine. So, I know just based
One
on the
second, one
topics they
second,
debate.
1 second. Someone's knocking. I have to
Oh,
see.
sure. No problem. So, while you go do that, I'm just going to talk. See, the Christians, you got to understand when I say is, Christianity is not true. What's my evidence? Sam Shimon, David Wood, inspiring philosophy, and all the Christian apologists, whether it be William Lane Craig or whoever it is, look at the topics they debate. Do they ever debate the reliability of the New Testament? No. That is because they look at those existing debates out there and they see it as a mistake never to be repeated. Only the religion of Islam debates and defends its reliability, its scientific evidence, and basically overall evidence for the faith. Now, they do a lot of solo videos, they do a lot of these live streams, but all religions do that. All religions have live streams. Ask me anything. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, atheism, they all have solo videos. They all have these solo video. So that's the problem here. Okay,
Okay,
Ahmed, I was just
okay,
explaining
I
to the
understand.
audience. Yeah, I was just explaining to the
About
audience.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just explaining to the audience that look, what you should take it. You should look at what topics the Christians debate. Okay, and you should say, oh, wait a second, why are my apologists not debating these type of arguments of scientific miracles in the New Testament? Why are they not debating reliability in the New Testament? You know,
there have been debates on the Bible and science. You showed me some of them,
no, it
and there
has
have been
not.
other ones.
Ahmed, there is none. There's never been a, after the debate defeat in 1996 with I'm sorry, Dr. Zakir Naik, the Christians knew never to debate science with the Muslims again. The last time they ever debated that was 1996. I know because I was there. Okay, and I know it was,
Okay, yeah, okay.
yeah.
But do you remember that Sam Shimon challenged Nike for a debate? But he said, "I want 100,000 people."
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
But that
He
has
didn't want to
nothing,
debate.
Ahmad, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. When it comes to Bible and science, Christians have been
Let's
running for
go there.
30
Let's go there.
years.
Let's go
Okay,
there.
okay.
Timothy.
Hold on a
Yeah,
second. Ahmed, what you're not understanding, Ahmed, you're not getting it. Okay. Well, now you want to debate this, you could, but I'm telling you, you shouldn't because you should look at Sam Shimon, David Wood, Christian apologists. For 30 years, they have been running from Bible and science, the Quran, the Bible, and modern science. Why are they not debating this? Because they know that there is contradictions in the Bible. They know there is no miracle here. And that's why, because Dr. Zakir Naik taught him a good lesson in 1996. And in
that's
fact, I know Sam Shimon will admit it to you. He has
that's
issued blackout
uh,
orders. Because I was there, he issued,
extremely. This is
yeah.
extremely subjective. But
Okay, okay.
personally,
Do
I
you
would love
want
to
to?
see you debate Sam again.
I'm willing, but he will not. That's the problem. Sam and these Christians will never debate me because they know I talk about science and they have orders never to debate science because of the errors in the
I
book.
I don't have a spare phone, but otherwise I would show you the clip where he comes on the stage as a Muslim, and then he says, "I'm here, you little," the way he speaks, and oh, let's see who's running from who now. I've seen
Okay,
that clip,
okay,
so
let's email Sam Shimon and I will show you. Okay, look, I'll tell you what. Ahmed, let's do this. Can you
I think
email Sam Shimon?
that would be a really good a
Okay.
video, like even for your channel that would be really good, like
He
if
will
you
not
approach Sam
debate me.
Shimon
I
again.
have already tried. Others have tried. I'm just moving on. Look, Ahmed, can you do me this favor? Why
Yeah.
don't you email Sam Shimon and say, why don't you debate Nadir on Quran, Bible, and modern science? Will you do that and see what happens?
Can you do that for me?
I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it for you. But if he refuses, then you have to accept he's a fraud. It's been 30 years now, Ahmed. 30 years this guy has been running away. 30
Damn,
years.
that's a really big allegation. I hope Sam sees it, you know.
Okay, look.
I
It's you
yeah
don't have to go there. Let's look on
yeah.
YouTube.
Let's
Okay,
focus
let's
on
go to YouTube.
our conversation right
Okay,
now.
hold on a second. Quran, Bible, modern science debate. Okay, do you see any debates here? There's one back in
Uh,
1996. This is it. That's it.
I did see Silly J.
Oh yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
Lily
solo
J.
video.
Silly
This is not a
J.
debate.
Yeah.
So, do you see any debates here? My point, look, we can verify right here. Look at these Christian cowards running away from the debate. Okay? There are
Can you
no
read?
Christian
Can
debates.
you write? Sorry, no. Can you write uh, debate on science? Nadir Ahmed versus Sam Shimon.
Sure, no problem.
Quran and science, or
There
you
are
know,
none. Debate
the
on
Bible, or the
science, science.
anything in that matter. It can be the reliability of the gospel. It can be the divinity of
Oops, I'm
Christ.
sorry. Yeah, I have okay. I know I have never had a debate with Sam Shimon on this, in spite of me debating him, challenging him many times. Okay, many Muslims have. Okay, so what do you want to do? Nadir, Ahmed, Sam, Shimon, science debate. Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, the Quran and science
Yeah.
debate in
There
Quran and
are
science, stuff
none,
like that.
none. Okay. We did Islam as a religion of peace. That's about it. Uh, okay. So as you can see, I've been
Who
debating
is
science with
it says
atheists.
it's that Chris from Speaker's Corner? Who was that?
I don't know.
Down there, you know. Okay, then let's continue our
Okay.
discussion,
Can you now
conversation, debate.
admit? Can you now admit that Christians run away from the debate on Bible and science? Can you admit that now, in light of what we're looking at here now? There are no debates, my friend. Only Islam meets this challenge. Look at me. Look at this. Wow. Blah, 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 blah. Science debate. Look at this. Look at all these debates I've done on modern science. Look at all of
That's
them. There's
me
just
right
so
there.
many. There's so many debates I've done on modern science and slavery and all these different topics. Okay. So scientific, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm doing a debate. Is the Quran scientifically accurate? I've done so many debates on science, I've lost track. I even forget who I've debated in the past. All right. My point to you is
Let's hope we have more discussions or debates in the
okay.
future.
So what I'm trying to get you to understand, Ahmed, is you can look at the lack of debate on a topic and you can see, oh, this is not a good topic to be debating with Muslims because my Christian apologists will not debate these issues. Okay, you can kind of do these, but so my point here is, okay, look, you want to debate reliability of the Bible, you want to debate science.
Yeah,
Okay.
in light of science, as you wanted, because
Yes.
your
Yes.
approach is more academic and my approach is more theological.
Well,
So I thought
well,
in this conversation we could have a similar approach.
well, all I was hoping is that you would look at your Christian apologist and know, oh, wait a second, there is a problem here. If my Christian apologist cannot defend these topics, what am I doing here trying to defend these topics?
Well,
Okay.
I think doing your own homework is better than just copying an
That's fine.
apologist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's get back to 2 Timothy 1:7. What's so miraculous about this verse? Can you show it to me?
yeah, you pulled it up on the screen, right?
Yeah.
For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Now, if you read this verse in itself, it's really simple, right?
Yeah.
Let me read it again. That was awkward. Let me read it again. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So in uh, this verse says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, emphasis on the word fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind, emphasis on sound mind.
Yeah.
So this is a passage from uh, PubMed Central, PMC Central. It's a medical institution. So let me read this passage for you. The scientific alignment for this.
Here, why don't you share
Mar-
your screen? Share your screen so
I
you
have a
can.
register. I have a
Oh,
register. I don't have a phone. Otherwise,
okay,
I would.
okay, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not on my phone. It's on the register. Scientific alignment. Modern neuroscience confirms that severe prolonged fear, again, emphasis on fear, or stress, floods the body with cortisol, which damages the hippocampus, which is a part in our brain, internal part of our brain, hippocampus, and impairs logical reasoning. A calm, a calm emotional state preserve, preserves executive brain function. Let me read it again one more time, the last line. A calm emotional state preserves executive brain function. Now, notice how in the verse it says that for God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind, a peaceful mind, you know. And here it says that modern neuroscience confirms that severe prolonged fear, again emphasis on fear, and stress floods the body with cortisol, which damages the brain, hippocampus, part of the brain, and
Hmm.
impairs logical reasoning. A calm emotional state preserves executive brain function. So, what my emphasis on this is that the verse says that the brain functions better in the absence of stress, for God has not given us the spirit of fear or stress, but He has given us a spirit of power and love of a sound mind. So
Hmm.
the thing is, in this verse, you can see that God is telling us that, hey, I have not created you, I have not given you a spirit so you would stress and fear and, damage your brain, I have given you a sound mind. I have given you a spirit for a sound mind. And modern neuroscience actually confirms what God says in this verse that yes, indeed, if we fear and if we stress, we're going to damage our brain because we are not
Hmm.
designed for prolonged fear or stress. And if we
Yeah.
don't do it, right, if we
Hmm.
don't fear or if we don't stress, our brain would function better. So that's my point.
Okay, okay, yeah. So the problem is the Bible teaches to fear God, even in the New
The Quran
Testament.
teaches to fear God.
So
The
so
Torah
okay, look,
teaches
look.
to fear
Okay,
God.
hold on a
But
second. Hold on a second.
fear is
Let me.
as it's not
Okay,
like
Ahmed, I
fear
let you
isn't
talk.
stress. Let me
Ahmed,
clarify. No,
yeah,
let
yeah,
me clarify. You made a
yeah.
good point. Now let me clarify. It doesn't say to fear God as in, oh my God, what is going to happen to me? Oh, if I kill a fly, if I kill a bug, is God going to smite me down? No, it's not that type of fear. It's
Yeah.
it's basically the awareness that yes, I am a sentient being. I have free will, and one day I'm gonna be judged. It's just an awareness.
Okay,
It's not
Ahmed,
literal
let me
fear. Yeah,
understand. First of all, let me understand what you think is the scientific miracle here. Okay. Okay, so basically science says fear is bad for you, you shouldn't have like live in fear and stuff like that. Okay, because
yeah, fear and stress.
something, yeah, like constantly having fear and always being afraid. I think that's what your article is stating, that when you're excessively engaged in fear. Am I correct? That's what science says. Am I correct?
Prolonged stress and fear. Yes,
Okay, the verse says nothing about that. Number one.
it
Secondly,
does talk
Buddha,
about fear
hold
though.
on a second. Buddha also taught pretty much the same type of stuff. Okay. So for the verse does not say, of course, we should be full of things. Like, for example, there's a lion. Hey, be careful. you know. So my point
Yeah,
here
of
is
course.
the verse, first of all, there's like many problems here. Number one, other religions taught the same thing. Secondly, the verse does not say prolonged fear. Okay, that if you continuously live in fear and you're constantly, every day, you're fearful of something. No, that's not what the verse says over here. You're reading into the text what's not there. This is
Yes,
silly,
because it's
Ahmad.
the inspired word of God and it leaves room for interpretation, unlike the Quran, which is
Again,
the
you're
direct
making,
word
no,
of
no,
God.
no. This is not what you are doing, is you are
Yeah, it's
reading science
literally
into the text.
it's
Okay, this
literally
is silly.
theologically true.
Ahmed, this is
Nah,
silly. Okay.
nah, this is
Can
not silly. I'm
Okay, okay.
not
So
silly, Jay.
let's get the article you're talking about. What's the name of the article? I'll pull it up right over here just so we can see exactly. And
Like
if
you can just type in prolonged stress damages the brain, scientific
okay,
research. You can type along those words, and it
okay.
might come
So
up.
so yeah, prolonged stress inhibits body's immune response. Okay. So when we go to the
You can
verse
just write
over
stress.
here, the
You can
verse
just write
never.
stress, and
Okay, we should all have some fear, of course, but the verse which you're talking about says nothing about prolonged fear. It says nothing about it's going to damage your body. It says nothing
it does
about
talk
it's going
about
to.
fear.
It has no.
And
It says nothing of this, Ahmed. This is silly.
so do you want sorry to cut you off, but do you want God to literally say, like, do you want him to literally recite a passage in our Bible that, hey, science says this and I'm saying exactly the same,
It's
so
got to
it
be
must be
it's
true?
got to be word for word agreement with modern science. Like for example, what I showed you. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, just to kind of make. Yeah, in fact, we can go right over here. This is what I'm
Yeah, of course.
talking about. Word
Go
for
ahead.
word agreement with modern science. Okay, so just so that we're not, because what you are doing, Ahmed. Anybody can do. Anybody can reinterpret their religious texts to make it agree with modern science. So that's why I'm holding you to that standard, because I'm also holding myself to the standard. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Word for word agreement with modern science, where there's no interpretation game, okay? Look what it says here. Whoever drinks khamr, which is alcohol, and does not get intoxicated, his salah will not be accepted so long as any trace of it remains in his belly or his veins. There you go. It's the text clearly states that alcohol exists in the veins. Now, notice am I
Now,
doing any kind of interpretation
I'm giving
game?
you a challenge. Show me
Okay.
this word from word, like you're asking. Show me this
Yes.
word from word in an article for
Sure.
science,
But
word for word.
okay.
If anything is changed, I'm just going to say the same thing
Yes.
you told
But
me.
does okay,
You're
this
reading
is
into
word
the
for
text.
word, my friend. It literally stating that alcohol exists in the vein. Am I wrong?
No, but I think the sun setting into a muddy pool is wrong.
Well, that's not what we're talking about. You asked me for word agreement. I'm showing it to you.
Yeah, go
Okay, you
ahead.
want a better
Show the
example?
article.
Is this
Show
word
the
for
article.
word?
Go
Yes or
ahead.
no? Is this word for word?
Well, I'm just seeing the words, not the article at this point, so I cannot
Okay,
really tell right now.
okay. Let's look at the article. So let's look at the article here. Here's the article. Okay. It's thanks to Widmar's alcohol's research in particular, the method he developed for quantitative analysis of ethanol, which is alcohol, in small quantities of blood, the Swedish government were able to introduce punishable limit, blah, blah. So the point here in this article, he is the one who discovered ethanol or alcohol existed in the blood. This is explicitly written in the hadith, no interpretation game.
But is it word from word, like you were
Word for
asking me
word.
before?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not. Go ahead, look at it. It's not
Oh
word for
my God.
word.
Okay.
It's
Ahmed, let
really
me ask.
vague.
Okay. Ahmed, let me ask you a question. Am I putting any interpretation or am I making any assumptions? If it is, what is it?
Am I?
You were, yeah, but I'm asking about this. What am
No.
I making an
Look,
assumption here?
there was talked about the distinction of the stars in First Corinthians, and I showed you the distinction of the stars in
But
science.
everybody
It
believed in
it
that
it
back
said
then.
about
Oh
it
my
said
God. Well,
about
no, wait,
yeah,
wait,
it
wait,
said
wait. We're
about
talking about veins. We're talking about
it said
word for
about
word
for God has
agreement.
not given you a spirit of fear, literally the word
Okay.
fear, and I told you that the scientific alignment for it.
Okay.
And that's okay. If if
Let me
if it
show
is
you
not word
another
for word, that's
example.
okay. That's not my
Word
criteria.
for
That's your
word
criteria.
agreement. Stop it. Listen what it says. This is science. No amount of alcohol is good for your overall health. Science. Many studies have shown that the overall health risks of drinking alcohol outweighs any benefit. Quran. They have some benefit for the people, but the harm is far greater than their benefit. Now, before you answer, I want you to take a minute, read the text of science and read the Quran. Take a minute to read it before you answer, because I don't want you to give the wrong answer. And then tell me if
Let
this
me
is not
grant
word for
you
word.
let me grant you the fact that it's completely aligned with the hadith, not the Quran, though. or the Quran
I'm
makes sense.
asking you about chapter 2, verse 219, Ahmed.
Okay, so let me grant you, for example,
Okay.
just to move this conversation forward. Let me grant you this is true, right? That
Yes.
means that the Quran is true, right?
Yes. No, no, no. No,
So
Ahmed. You
no,
asked
no,
me.
I'm not.
Pay
I'm not going to
attention.
the Islamic dilemma. I'm not going to that
No, no, no,
yet.
no.
I'm not
You
talking about it.
okay?
This is
Let me
not.
talk,
This is not the topic of the video.
Ahmed. Okay, let
I'm
me
just
talk.
asking you a question
No, you
that
asked me a question,
if
Nadir. Where does it say? Where is a word for word agreement with modern science in the Quran or Hadith, which I was using? I'm showing you the word for word agreement that I'm not showing. I'm not doing any kind of interpretation game. I'm not imposing my understanding upon the text or reading into the text what's not there. It's word
and
for
I'm
word
saving
agreement.
your time, and I'm saving your time. I'm saying, let me grant you that it's word for word. I'm
Okay.
saving time right here. Let me grant you it's word for word, right? But does that mean that any verse which talks about scientific miracles or astronomy in the Quran or anything,
Mhm.
does that mean does that mean every verse is true?
What I will tell you is the Quran is in 100% agreement with modern science. And that's what I've been debating for the last, oh, I don't know how long. So, yes, I accept the challenge. It is 100% correct.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. You know,
So, would
thank
you
you
like, so
for
what we can
conceding.
do, we can debate Quran and modern science. Maybe at the next meeting or whatever, we can do that. But for right now, we are.
I just had one last question, like I had before, and
Mhm.
it's about Surah Al-Kahf, Ayah 86. You already know it. You're doing this for a long time.
Yeah,
Surah
about the sun
Al-Kahf,
going into a
Ayah
murky
86.
pool. Yeah, that's 100%
Yeah, yeah,
agreement with modern science, but Quran and modern science is not the topic. The topic tonight is reliability of the New Testament.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so
you're the one who concedes to
no, no, no.
science, right?
You asked, okay, no. Look,
In the
this is
last
where okay,
video,
okay, let's
I
do
know
this.
that you have an academic approach towards
Yes.
apologetics. I know that, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That's great if you have an academic approach. But notice how you always adhere to the fact that if a book is true or if a prophet is true. Like in our last debate, you told me that if Paul was true, show me one of his verses which aligns with modern science. So modern science is basically something which you appeal to. And that's why I brought up science in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf in the first place.
Okay, that there is nothing in the New Testament which predicts the modern science that we have just known today. There is nothing that explicitly states that. Okay, Ahmed, I hope see what
Meaning
you're doing with
again,
the verses of the Bible. Anybody can do with the verses of their book and say, "Oh, look, it says be healthy, be good, be happy." Okay, we now
okay,
know from
let me
science
grant you the argument.
that
Okay,
happiness makes you
let
happy, releases hormones and stuff like
let
that.
me yeah, let me grant you the argument that anyone can do what I did just right now.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
say that Sam Shimon and these other Christian debaters, they run from me, right? Can't they do the same which I literally did here right now? Why do they run?
No, no, they don't run from me. They run. Well, of course, yeah, they
Oh,
do run.
okay.
Ahmed,
Notice how
Ahmed,
earlier you said they run from this topic and now
no,
you're saying
Ahmed,
they don't run.
please do not interrupt. Okay, when I speak something, let me finish. Okay. Now we got to do
Okay,
2 minutes
go
back
ahead.
and forth. That's fine. We're gonna have a discussion. We just can't interrupt every time you hear something you don't like. You just don't interrupt somebody. Okay. I wouldn't say they run from me specifically. They run from the topics which I bring up, like Quran and science, and and reliability of the Bible, reliability of the Quran. No, they're not going to debate these things because they know that there is no legitimacy to
We can talk
Christianity.
about the reliability of the Quran. It's really good.
Yes,
One of the
I do.
there's a really good book named Abu Ubad's Bidal Quran by Abu
Okay,
Ubad,
let's
and it
get
has a
back to
lot of
scientific
lot
miracles in
of
the
good
New
stuff in
Testament.
there,
Let's get
including the
back to this
sheep eating
verse.
the revelation of the Quran.
That's not the topic of today's discussion. Let's get back to reliability of the
Totally.
Bible. Ahmed, can you agree? Look, there's verses in the books like Buddhist scriptures, Hindu scriptures, which says be happy, don't be sad. These verses exist in all these books. And yeah, they are good advice, but that's not what we would consider to be a scientific miracle because, of
They're
course, it's
vague,
got to be
right?
more explicit.
They're vague, right? That's what
What?
you're trying to say, that they're really vague.
Vague. Yeah, they're vague. And the thing is this, look, it does not say the verse of the Bible does not say you should not live in prolonged fear. The verse doesn't
Yeah,
say
but
that. You're reading into the
it's
text what's
not
not
vague.
there.
It's not vague either. It explicitly says if you live in fear, hey, it's bad for you. That's
Do
not
all
vague. That's
is
literal
it
word for word.
it does
The
not
word fear.
say if you live in fear. It does not state that in the
For
Bible.
God has not given you a spirit of fear,
It's talking about a
but a
spirit of
spirit.
fear.
Yeah. And what is the spirit of fear? What is the spirit?
Okay,
Okay,
now
so
you're
what?
getting into playing interpretations, what you think it means. Okay?
Yes, because this is the inspired word of God, not the direct word. It has room
Inspired
for
word of God doesn't
interpretation.
mean you just reinterpret and make things mean what you want it to mean, Ahmed.
Okay, so again, if we're playing by the same rules, you cannot say that Surah Al-Kahf is not talking about the sun setting into a muddy pool,
That is
even if it's
not the
clearly
topic for
talking about the
tonight's
sun setting into a
discussion.
muddy pool.
Okay, you know what? We are going to move on to this because you know why? Because even the Christians will not agree with you. Because I know I've spoken with Christians and I know this is something
Absolutely.
called exegesis, and I know
Yeah.
that
So this,
that even Christians will not accept what you're saying. So you are basically coming.
I want you to notice,
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
you to notice a pattern, right? That
Yes.
interpretation in itself, interpretation doesn't mean that the text itself is completely different or completely wrong or the book is completely wrong. There is room for interpretation when, especially when it comes to scriptures and you all have all these Semitic languages translated. Obviously, that's why we have the tafsirs. That's why we have the commentaries of the Quran. Al-Qurtubi, Al-Mawdudi, because again, interpretation in itself is not a bad thing. And you cannot just tell me that just because I interpreted the verses of the gospel, hence it's false, and my argument is
Hmm.
false. You cannot say that because interpretation is universal. Any religion.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's false. You need to pay attention, Ahmed. What I'm saying is, okay, fine. You want to interpret the scriptures the way you want, sure, but you cannot make the claim that the author of the Bible was referring to the scientific fact which you had listed or you basically read off from the scientific document. You cannot make that claim just based on interpretation. Fine, you want to interpret it, say, I think it means like that. That's fine. That's your personal interpretation. But to claim that the only thing this author meant was the scientific reference that you basically presented, no. Nobody,
Okay,
even
okay,
Christians, Jewish, Muslim, will never agree
okay.
with you on that.
Let me grant you the argument that it's my personal interpretation. Let me
Okay.
grant you the argument.
Thank you.
Now, if we are on the same page, just making sure we're on the same page. So you say this is my own interpretation that the verse
Yeah.
say this, right? Says
Yes.
this.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not the verse talking about it. It's me talking. Basically, this fly is driving me crazy, but whatever. It's me talking, not the verse, right? That's what you're trying to
What
say.
I'm saying is that you are basically giving meaning to the text of the New Testament based upon your own assumptions of what you think it means.
Okay, so again, let me, let me
And
play
and,
by your
and
rules.
secondly,
Let
even
me
if you
play
were
by
right,
your
yeah,
rules.
yeah,
Again, let me play by your rules. You have a criteria, and okay, I say I adhere to your criteria. But again, can you adhere to your own criteria and explain to me Surah Al-Kahf without breaking your own criteria?
yes, I could, yes, no
Yeah, go
problem.
ahead, and
No, we're
don't you
not going to
dare
talk
go to
about.
the
No, no, no.
interpretation.
Also, there's a second thing you're missing, Ahmed. The second problem with what you're stating, what you've shown us inside that verse, I mean, the way you interpret it, these things exist in all religions. In the Buddhist scripture, Hindu scripture, there are things about be happy, don't be sad, and things. So the same teaching exists in all the different religions. So it's not something unique to the New Testament. That's another problem.
Okay, then. But you just literally, you know, completely and utterly destroyed the reputation of the Quran by saying this, because a lot of things which the Quran has, other books have also. And you quoted Judges in one of our our earlier streams.
Okay.
So I don't think that's a good argument for you to use.
No, no, what I'm saying is, look, there are good teachings inside all these religions, like be happy, don't be sad. And these things match up with modern science. Yes, you should be happy, don't be sad all the time, and love your parents. And all of this is scientifically correct. I can show you scientific journals
Distinction
for all of
between the
this.
stars.
There is, yeah. So no, you're now you're zigzagging, going right back to the star garbage that you've shown us. Okay, no, we've already
Oh
shown
no,
you.
don't call it
You know
don't call it star garbage.
that is nonsense.
I'm going to call the
Okay,
muddy pool garbage then if you
the
call the star
argument,
garbage. Don't do that.
you're right. The argument is garbage. Okay, okay. Let's start our discussion on the reliability of the New Testament. We've already conceded that you
Yeah,
are
of
just
course.
basically
Go
interpreting, you are basically making, you could say, inferences into the text of the Bible, making it mean what you want. And these things do all exist in other religions. The star argument you mentioned, again, that's we know from astronomy back then, other people have made differentiations with the stars and their brightness, things like that. That was all known back then. Okay, so we've already talked about that. So here's what I'm going to do. You believe the New Testament is reliable. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Let me and just tell us why you believe the New Testament is reliable, and then we can have like a 2 minute back and forth discussion. Because I
yeah,
think
what okay,
here you go.
yeah.
I'm gonna
For
start the time right here. Okay, let me know.
am I going to speak or is it your turn right now?
Sure, if you want, take 5 minutes and tell us why you believe the New Testament is reliable. Go ahead, and I'll
Well,
just
the
stop
reason
you
why
after 5 minutes. Huh?
okay, sorry. No,
Go ahead.
you know what? You can since you're the host, you can, you can do the opening statement.
You want me to? Okay, no problem. Let me just
Yeah,
get
that's
some
the
water
least I
here.
can do to honor you.
I've been yelling at you so much that I
No,
have
no,
to drink some
I
water.
I understand. These things happen. These things happen all the time. So okay.
Okay. There's a comment here. Ohan KWR. I don't know what. Okay, you mentioned. Remember debate with David Wood. I think you're referring to that video clip which has gone viral. Ohan or whatever your name is, it's a hoax, which is another problem. Christians produce hoaxes and put it about on the internet. But let me get started with my 5 minutes. No problem. Okay,
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
going
Go
to
ahead.
share my screen and let me share my screen here. Blah 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 blah. Blah. And Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so let's go to. As you can see that, let me make that a little bit bigger. There you go. Okay, can you see my screen, Ahmed?
Yeah, I can see, and I can see a picture in there. It's small. I cannot read what
Let me
is
make.
written there, but I can see the picture.
There you go. Let me make it a little bit bigger there. All right.
Oh yeah, now I
Here we
can
go.
read. Apostle
Okay.
Paul. Oh
Okay. Here
my
we go. I'm gonna
God,
start.
the
Yeah, I'm gonna
demon
start.
possessed
Yeah.
prophet. The demon possessed prophet. Oh my. So
Mhm.
okay. By the way, this is completely off topic, but do you make these slides? Like,
Yeah, I made this. Yeah, yeah.
this is a really dramatic way to call out Paul, but I like it in a way, and I don't like it in a way, but it's really dramatic, and a good job. So
Oh, thank you, thank you.
for
Okay, let me. I'll start. I'll start my time here. Okay,
yeah,
five
of course.
minutes. Here we go. So, the reliability of the New Testament basically relies on the authority of the church because the church said so. So they got all these books which they produce for us, which was about 100 years after they were written is when people actually believed they were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So, okay, why is it? Why are the books true? Because the church said so. Okay, who's the head of the church? A person who claimed to be a prophet named Paul. Okay, now here's the evidence of why Paul is a demon possessed prophet, as I've shown you over here. There are 3 lines of evidence here. The next picture will explain it all. Paul is responsible for the death of 6 million Jews in the Nazi Holocaust, as every Holocaust scholar and
Mm,
academic has clearly stated. And not only the death of the 6 million Jews, this misery is what his teaching has taught, but for 2,000 years of persecution. Second piece of evidence, Paul is responsible for cleavage Christianity. What is cleavage Christianity? if you look in the world, Christian, they can wear bikinis. They can dress naked, half naked across, the streets. Why? Because of what Paul wrote in his book. He did away with
Can
the
you not show that
obligation.
to me,
Please,
please?
my 5 minutes. Please do not interrupt. Uh, um, it's really it goes back to this verse which he basically quoted here, First Timothy chapter 2 verse 9. I also want women to dress modestly with decency and propriety. Modestly in what sense? Are you talking about modesty in terms of not flamboyant clothing, or which is like very expensive clothing? That's what he meant. And so at least that throws in some confusion. Secondly, the problem here, what modesty depends upon your own interpretation. So people interpret what modesty is. Okay. And so Paul replaces clarity with confusion. Is modesty referring to expensive clothing? And that's the problem as Christians. So let's look at the website Got Questions. This is a very authoritative website, from the Christians. Should a Christian woman wear a bikini? And basically, it states very clear here: the faithfulness of a daughter of God is not entirely measured by what she wears, but by her walk in the Spirit. Meaning, yes, it's permissible in the Christian religion.
And
Okay.
that's your
Ask
interpretation.
again. No interruptions, please. My 5 minutes is,
Hmm.
is almost over. Is got 2 more minutes here. Modesty can be reduced. This is from Catholic Answer. I'm sorry, askacatholic.com. Modesty cannot be reduced to a question of inches. Modesty is an attitude. There are modest women, villagers in Africa, who go about with their breasts exposed because it's their culture. So, according to the article, when they asked him, can a woman wear a bikini? Of course. And if you go on the streets inside America, everywhere you will see that Christian women, this is perfectly acceptable clothing for Christians. Okay, to basically wear the type of clothing, and they show, this is called, in English, it's called cleavage. They display their cross. Why? Because Paul did away with the obligation of the law of the past, and also because he really didn't put an emphasis on what he meant by modesty. And there's no like repercussions, meaning, okay, if you don't dress this modesty, which we don't know what it really is, you're going to get punished, or you're going to go to hell, or anything like that. And that's why the Christians allow for bikinis to be worn, things like that. So this is the way righteous good women dress. Now these are not Muslim. I picked a Jewish woman. Okay, this is in Israel. Look at this. She's an Orthodox woman, and you can see this is the way godly women dress. So why did Paul change it? Okay, so he is the one who introduced cleavage Christianity. The third piece of evidence: Paul is responsible for the spread of AIDS. So basically, Paul also did away with the obligation for what's it called, for circumcision. Well, we now know that circumcision is important to prevent venereal diseases. I think up to 61%. I'll find that number for you. So in South Africa today, 1 out of every 4 Christians is HIV positive. So they have introduced a law, or you could say, a program where men can voluntarily be circumcised. So to remove the obligation of circumcision, help spread AIDS. So why is Paul a demon possessed prophet? Because of these reasons. He is the one who brought the Holocaust. And my time is up. So I'll start your time. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. And I was listening to you, for a while, and I was just wondering, what any of this has to do with the reliability of the Gospels? But that's okay, we got a little bit off track. But the thing is, you're mixing tradition with religion, because if you see, like, this is a really extreme case of women wearing, bikinis and stuff which is quite revealing. It's like saying that there are men in Afghanistan who are abusing young boys. It's kind of like saying that, because what you're doing is that you're mixing tradition with church theology. Now, what you're doing is that you're interpreting Paul's words, even though he doesn't say that you can wear anything you want, he doesn't say that. He says that you should be dressed modestly, but he also doesn't say that you can be naked and be wear whatever you want. He doesn't say that. But according to your interpretation and some random Catholic, what you're doing is that you're mixing two really different things, and this happens a lot with both religions. Tradition and religion is a different thing. If a woman decides to be revealing and wear revealing clothes like a bikini, uh, that's between her and God, right? And we can tell her that, hey, this is wrong. But at the end of the day, we cannot beat her up to wear the hijab, right? So what you're doing, there's a really big misunderstanding here. You're associating Paul with modern tradition. For example, if you go back to the 1920s and 30s and you look at the pictures of New York, women back and men, even men, you forget the women. Women back in the day, they were fully clothed. Men back in the day, they were fully clothed. They had hats on, and they were modest. You go further back, you go to the 1800s, you look at the women of the 1800s, American women, the British women, and they had full veils on them. They had long skirts, and everything which you want to see on a modest woman. But what you're doing is you're comparing modern tradition, modern fashion with a person who died centuries ago. That's what you're doing. Now, and again, I don't see what is the correlation between this topic between this topic and the reliability of the Gospels, but I just have a hard time understanding that what does this guy on the screen has to do with how women dress nowadays. And it's like saying that because of Prophet Muhammad and because of Islam, thousands and millions of women are oppressed each and every day to wear the hijab. It's basically that you're doing basically that, but with Paul as it right now. But when Christians do it, you don't feel good, do you? You say that we're blaspheming against the prophet. Well, you're blaspheming against Paul in the same way by mixing tradition and this person with it. And let me remind you a case. You know, let's grant you the argument that Paul did all this and because of that women wear anything they want. Let's grant you this point, but it's still better than what you see in Islam, especially in radical Islam. I'm not attacking Islam. I'm telling you my personal story. So I was 14 at the time, 14 or 15, uh, and I saw a woman beaten up by her husband. At that time, I used to live in my actual town. I saw her getting beaten up by her husband in front of the masjid, and the imam was just watching. This is my personal story, and there are many other cases which you see on the news, like the case of Malik Zada in Afghanistan, the woman who was said that she allegedly burned the Quran, and 30 men came out of the mosques. They beat her up. They dragged her body,
Okay,
meters and
and that
meters.
is time. That is
Yeah,
5 minutes.
exactly what you're doing with Paul right
Okay,
now.
thank you. So let's do, I'm gonna take my 2 minutes. Let's just I think we had a nice rule, 2 minutes back and forth. That way we're not kind of interrupting over each other. So okay, let
Is it
me,
five or two?
no, so we're gonna have a discussion, 2 minutes back and forth where we can kind of talk about this. So I'll start my 2 minutes. The reason why I'm actually attacking Paul is because Paul is really the head of the church. He's the one who claimed to be a prophet. He claimed he got some revelation, and then he basically built a church around it. All the church fathers that people use for the reliability of the New Testament, they are all the followers of this alleged demon possessed prophet. So now I made a claim that Paul is responsible for the death of 6 million Jews, and he ushered in unimaginable suffering and persecution of the Jewish people in the world. So let me show you the evidence for that. Okay. Let's go to this one verse over here. First Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14. It says the Jews who killed Jesus. Okay, Jews who killed both the Lord Jesus and the prophets. So what can go wrong here by accusing the Jews of something called deicide? Deicide is a killing of God. All right, let's go to the Holocaust, United States Holocaust Museum. Okay, it talks about anti-Semitism, Christian roots, the false charge that the Jews killed Jesus. Isn't that exactly what we read in First Thessalonians? Yes, that's exactly what we read over there. So what they're saying here is that this verse created this type of animosity and hatred in people against the Jewish people that it led them to commit the crimes that the Christians did. So the issue here is that the Bible is responsible for this suffering. Let's go to Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial inside Israel. If you're ever there, go ahead and take a look at it. It states over here the roots. This is the roots of Nazism. This is a video you can watch. Roots of Nazi ideology. Christian anti Judaism. What is that? That is the Jewish belief that Jews were accused of deicide, rejecting, and the killing of the Messiah. That's the root of the Nazi ideology. Where that come from? It comes from Paul. Go ahead.
Well, it's like saying that Allah said in the Quran that the Jews and the Christians are the worst of creatures, and because Allah said this in the Quran, we now have ISIS and we have Al Qaeda, and they killed so many people, and they're still killing people in the name of Allah. So the thing is, are those people who are misinterpreting the Quran, is it their fault or is Allah demonic? It's basically the same thing right here. And a lot of Christians, inspiring philosophy, they bring these verses out where Allah calls the Jews and the Christians the worst of creatures. And, basically more verses in the Quran. I only have one right now. But what you're doing is exactly the same. We can do the same, and we can say just because in the Quran says that the Jews and the Christians are worse of creatures, the Muslims still go around killing the Jews and the Christians. They still go around bombing churches, burning down churches, and doing whatever they do today, right? And to a point, it's true too, because a lot of traditionalist Muslims or Muslims who are zealous do believe in stuff like this. They believe in jihad. Yeah, let's talk about jihad. The same way you're accusing Paul of, of Jews, 6 million Jews dying, we can accuse, Allah and, Prophet Muhammad for the Crusades, Salahuddin Ayyubi, all the wars that were fought then against the Christians. So many men died on both sides, and we can basically say the same. So yeah, that's not really an argument, especially when it comes to the reliability of the Gospels, which was our actual topic of this debate. But uh, I did heard you saying that all the church fathers were the followers of Paul, right?
Mhm.
You did say that they were all followers of Paul. Sorry, but that's not the
Okay, that's
case.
2 minutes. That's 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
let me go ahead and answer you. Challenge accepted. When you said, very stupid arguments from inspiring philosophy, who was a coward on the run, as we all know, he will not debate and defend these things because they're stupid arguments. I am ready to leave Islam today. When Allah said in the Quran, the Jews and the Christian, they're the worst of creation. They're talking about the ones that's going to burn in hell. I am ready to leave Islam today.
Then leave
If you
it.
can show, hold on, let me finish my 2 minutes. If you can
Open the
show
Quran.
me, stop. Let me take my 2 minutes. Stop interrupting the debate, please. If you can show me that this verse in the Quran unleashed misery, suffering, and death into the world. So basically, what that means is, people are reading the Quran and they're saying, look, Jews and Christians are the worst of all creation because they're going to go to the ones that go to hell. That's what the verse says. You know what? This is inspiring me to commit a crime or commit any kind of persecution. I'm ready to leave Islam today. If anything you have said today about Islam is true, I'm ready to leave. And guess what? The people who follow me, who help me in my dawah ministry, I make them sign a contract that if what the Christians are saying about Islam that it causes suffering in the world, you have to leave Islam. They signed the contract. So I make not only just me, but anybody who follows me, they have to leave Islam too. I make them sign that contract. I'll show you the contract that I make them sign, by the way. So, okay, but that's not the topic of tonight. We'll definitely talk about that. Let's put that on the back shelf, back burner. So, I have a question for you. So, we now know a true book of God should not cause misery, death, and suffering in the world. So, whether it's Islam or Christianity, either religion, you better, it could be that maybe both of them are false. Maybe both of them are from Shaitan, are from the devil. What you need to understand, and my time is almost up, you need to accept a true book of God should bring mercy, peace, and love into the world, not death and suffering. That's what a demon possessed prophet does. Go.
It's really interesting because we have the Quran, and we have multiple hadiths which say exactly what you say. They bring quite a lot of misery to mankind. And let me just quickly recite one of those hadiths right now. I gave you a verse of the Quran. I don't know the chapter, but I gave you the verse word for word. Jews and the Christians are the worst of creatures. Let me recite this hadith real quick. So, Sahih Muslim 2662. C. Aisha, the mother of the believers, narrated that Allah's Messenger was called to lead the funeral prayer of a child of the Ansar. Narrated Aisha, I said, O Allah's Messenger, there is happiness for this child who is a bird from the birds of paradise. For he committed no sin, nor has he reached the age when one can commit sin. He said, Muhammad, Aisha, peradventure it may be otherwise, because God created for paradise those who were fit for it, while they were yet in their father's loins, and created for hell those who are to go to hell. He created them for hell while they were in their father's loins. Now, so while in Christianity, uh, children children are spared because of the age of accountability. In Islam, even the children go to hell because Allah already created them for going to
Mhm.
hell. Do you understand how miserable this is? Do you understand it? Like Allah already made it. Allah already knows who's going to hell, and He already made people for hell, created for hell those who are to go to
Okay,
hell.
okay,
He
that's your two
created them
minutes.
for hell while they were in their father's loins. This
Thank
is
you,
so
thank you.
bad.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna again, I will reissue and renew my challenge. If you can show me anything in the Quran that causes I mean, in this world that brings in misery, suffering, and death, and like we see with the Bible, then I will leave Islam. It's a clear challenge. Telling me about verses of the Quran which you don't like, that's not, that doesn't prove anything. Okay. All you've shown is that you don't like that, what the Islam teaches.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
because if a
silly.
book,
Allow
look,
my, don't
yeah,
interrupt, no
obviously,
interruption, no interruptions, please. So now here's
it
my
called us
challenge
the
to you.
worst of creatures 1400 years ago.
I
That's all I
will
have to say.
leave Islam, and I will leave Islam if you can prove the things you've said about it. And now you have to leave Christianity because now we have a clear, what's it called, criteria for truth here. Blame shifting. You said
Yeah,
something pretty stupid. You said,
just
well, people
open the
miss.
Quran.
Again, Ahmed, no interrupting, please. We're doing 2 minutes back and forth because so we don't interrupt each other. Okay. Okay. Blame shifting. You said something pretty dumb. You said, okay, well, you see, people misinterpret the Quran, like ISIS and stuff like that. This is not an issue of misinterpretation. This is an issue of incitement. It's about a verse which generates and creates hatred, a special type of hatred and animosity in people that causes them to lash out and kill. Okay, which and we can get around it whether it's legitimate in the Bible or not, but that's beside the point. But here's how we're going to prove that Christianity is false by one question. Okay, blame shifting, saying, "Oh, so this is not an issue of interpretation. That has nothing to do with what's going on here." Okay, introducing an idea while knowing it will likely cause harm or serious problems, does create some degree of moral responsibility for the foreseeable outcome. True or false? Okay. So, yeah, you could blame the
True.
believers a little bit or some amount, but you cannot take the blame away from the Bible for the death of 6 million Jews based on this fact here. My time is up. Go ahead. Now, my question is, do you accept what I've posted here for you?
Yeah, of course. And jihad is a very good example for that. The Jews and the Christians are the worst of creatures. Go ahead, look it in the Quran, and leave Islam then. Because there are a lot of other verses like that too. In my next discussion, I can bring them up. I didn't want to go down this loophole, but yeah, since we have brought it up, yeah, go ahead. You have jihad in Islam. If you die in the cause of Allah, you go straight to heaven. If you spill your blood in the cause of Allah, like you literally have to die in order to gain salvation. While in Christianity, Jesus died for us for our salvation. But in Islam, you need to die. You need to cause misery to yourself and others. Yeah, don't nod. Don't nod. We both know what jihad is. We don't know what Islamic theology is. So then leave Islam because it's a losing battle when it comes to misery and death and, wars, because Islam is filled with those. Islam is literally filled with them. Look at the history of Islam spread by the sword. Look at the Shias and the Sunnis. How many of them kill each other every single year just because they have a different theology? And I know. Yeah, don't do that. We both know. You cannot lie to me. You cannot lie to me. I'm from Pakistan. You cannot lie to me. I know what Muslims act like with each other. You cannot lie to me. You cannot do that. I know how much misery it causes just because some of them misinterpret a verse, or maybe they don't misinterpret a verse. Maybe they don't do that. Maybe, just maybe, their tawheed is so complete, as it says, so mukammal, that when the Sunni when the Shia say, when they call out to Ali, Imam Ali, maybe their tawheed is so good that they start killing the Shias. Maybe the Sunnis' tawheed is so good. Because if anyone calls out anyone except Allah, they should be killed. The blessing
Okay,
of
time.
tawheed.
That's time. That time
Yeah,
is up.
go ahead.
Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, I am ready to leave Islam. I am ready to leave
Yay!
Islam.
Yay,
If
go
this,
ahead.
stop. Do not interrupt. Okay, also I'm going
Thank
to
you.
add extra time. Okay, I am ready to leave Islam if any of this garbage, which unfortunately Ahmed has been brainwashed with, that he said, "Oh, I've seen it also," and all these. If any of this garbage is true, I am ready to leave Islam today.
Okay,
But
so I would
this
be
is
I
not the
would be
topic. The topic of
I
tonight's
would
debate is
be
not jihad in
yeah.
Islam. Ahmed, please respect the time. No interruptions. The topic of tonight's debate is not jihad. I will defend that, praise God, and I will show you Islam is a religion of peace. And this one verse is a beautiful verse about the Jews and the Christians. They're the worst of creatures, the one that are burning in hell, that is. Does that really cause people to hate them and to do bad things to them, and thus they brought in this terrible suffering into the world? If it's true, I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want, if the things that Christians say, I repeat, if the things these Christians say is true, I will leave Islam. I mean, how much more clear can I make that? But tonight's debate is not about jihad. This is about the reliability of the Bible. This is about following a demon possessed prophet. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at all the suffering and evil your demon possessed prophet brought into the world. Okay. You've agreed that the Bible is responsible for the death of 6 million Jews. I'm
Nope.
quoting United States Holocaust Museum. I've quoted for Yad Vashem. And then finally, I can also show you Adolf Hitler. Hitler, he also quoted that verse in the Bible. So you could see how this evil verse is just causing this horrible animosity and evil into the world. And so let's take a look at some pictures of the Holocaust. Okay, this is what Paul did. This is what Paul brought into the world. Okay, now, this is what Paul did. He is responsible. Now, of course, there were other reasons for the Holocaust, but this is partially. Okay, and that's my time. My time is up. Now, I'm going to request you to leave Christianity, and I will leave Islam if what you are saying is true. Go ahead.
Well, uh, if you're really honest, just go back into history of Islam and you'll find it out. Because I can sit here, I can keep talking and talking and talking, and we'll just end up going in circles, right? Just wasting our time. We can have a next debate, but what I have to say for the assumption by you that we follow Paul rather than Jesus or the disciples of Jesus, let me clarify that when we believe in the Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, let's come to the reliability of the gospel again. Let's turn the steering wheel in the right direction again. The reliability of the gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. So how do we know that those people, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, they wrote those gospels? How do we know that? And you asked me this in our previous debate. You can go look it up. You asked me what's the evidence that Matthew wrote Matthew. So the thing is, we have the testimony of our apostolic fathers, apostolic church fathers, early church fathers. We have Polycarp, who was a direct disciple of John, aware of his writings, aware of his gospel. We have Ignatius. He was also a direct student of the disciple John. We have Clement of Rome. He was a direct co-worker with the apostle Paul and Peter, both. And we have Papias, who had a connection to Matthew. So all of them were aware of their writings, of the disciples' writings, and they testified for them that yes, these are the writings of the disciples of Jesus, of John, Mark, Matthew, Luke. And basically, we follow the testimony of our apostolic church fathers. And that's how we know that Mark wrote Mark, Matthew wrote Matthew, Luke wrote Luke, and John wrote John. And let me tell you that Christianity wasn't spread by Paul, it was there before Paul. If read the Gospel of John, read the Gospel of Mark, read the Gospel of Matthew, read the Gospel of Luke. You
Okay,
don't
I think
even
that's time.
even
That's
need to
time.
read the
Okay, thank you. As
epistle.
I said, yeah. So we'll talk about these church fathers, which you've like Polycarp and all these people. These are all the followers of
Yeah.
your demon possessed prophet. Okay,
Oh, really?
so once you eliminate Paul, then the whole church falls. Is what you're not understanding. And we can get into all the stuff which you've mentioned. It is now time to leave Christianity. Look. I have proved beyond a reasonable. Now, this is just evidence number one. We still need to talk about the other evidences where Paul brought in nudity, cleavage Christianity. We still got to talk about that. You said, oh, this is just a cultural thing. No, it is something from Paul. Paul removed any obligation for women to dress a specific way, covering things. He made modesty something abstract, just make it mean whatever you want it to mean inside First Timothy. I've already shown you from the website, Got Questions. I've shown you from the website, Ask Catholics. They all say a bikini is permissible in to be a Christian. So that was a second piece of evidence, but I don't even need to go there. I don't even need to go to talk about how Paul
Yeah,
it brought in the nudity,
we
which
have
is what
bigger
you can see
fish to
over
fry
here,
in Islam.
and so this is the way this is the way godly women were used to dress. But now with the introduction of Christianity, because it removed all the obligation with that verse, First Timothy, that we saw, this is the way women dress now. So Paul is a father of cleavage Christianity, but we can get into that later. I don't think I need to bring this up anymore because
No, don't bring it up,
I
please.
think
Don't.
I think I have
Haram,
hit a
haram.
clear. I think I've basically proved my case beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that look, a true prophet of God should not be responsible for these pictures. Look at this. This is what Paul brought to the world. This is what Paul brought to the world.
Can I not?
Okay.
Okay.
You
At
and
least
I
it's
have
not nude
agreed.
woman.
You and I have agreed that this is what Paul has brought to the world. Okay. Like a pogrom. This is another example. I
Yeah.
will
Can you
ask
can
you
you
that
can you
I will
can
ask
you
you to
real
please
quick? Sorry
leave
for cutting you off, but
Christianity.
can you real quick look up all the churches which the Muslim mobs burned down in Pakistan?
This is not the topic
Neil,
of the
look at their
discussion.
pictures. Come on, look at their
Okay,
pictures, so I can say
no.
the same about your
Then
prophet and your
I
God.
already told you I will leave Islam is what if what you are saying is true, then I will
Look
leave.
at
No
the
problem.
pictures. Look at the pictures. Just
First
search up
you
ISIS. Search up
okay.
9/11. Go ahead. You can
First
search anything.
first you must leave Christianity, then I will leave Islam. That's how it's going to go. Okay, you go first, then I'll go next, okay?
We
So go
both
ahead.
sound like paupers.
I want you now to renounce this demon possessed prophet, which I believe I've proved. He is a demon possessed prophet that you are following. So now I'm going to give you your 2 minutes to please come forward and renounce this demon possessed prophet. It was Paul who's responsible for this. Go ahead. Let me start your time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. There's your 2 minutes.
So I would start my closing statement with saying that a lot of Muslims think that Paul bought Christianity, and their own Quran, Surah Saf, Ayah 14 says that we aided the true followers of Jesus. Now, if Paul was a disbeliever, then Allah aided the wrong person. Sorry. And Allah also says in Surah Al Imran, Ayah 55 of the Quran, that, O Jesus, I will take thee and raise thee to myself and clear thee of the falsehoods of those who blaspheme. I will make those who follow thee, Jesus, superior to those who reject faith
Mhm.
to the day of resurrection. Then shall ye all return unto me, and I will judge between you the matters wherein ye dispute. A beautiful verse, a beautiful promise by Allah. So sad to say that Allah was just not prepared for Paul, because Paul, who is a mere human, completely overthrew Allah and threw Allah in the dustbin and completely overpowered Allah and hijacked Christianity and hijacked the true followers of Jesus and killed them and everything. So, yeah, thank you for telling me that Allah is powerless when it comes to
Mhm.
the corruption of Paul. And thank you for telling me that the real disciples and the real followers of Isa ibn Maryam are no longer here because Allah failed to protect them. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my closing statement.
Well, I think you're closing right now because you're running. I think that's what's happening right now. Yeah, I will address, and I'm sorry, let me start my time here. Okay. Yeah, I'll address the issue which you raised about the Quran. Fair point. I said I was going to do that last time, and I never
Yeah,
did
go
it
ahead.
today. So yeah, I will address that, and I apologize for not addressing the verse in the Quran which I promised to do. But
Yeah, go to the
Ahmed,
commentaries,
okay,
and
Ahmed,
it's
okay,
even
stop.
worse there.
Ahmed, you need to understand that when
Go
we
ahead.
engage in debates, we cannot interrupt each other during our time period. Okay. I hope you understand that. Okay, Ahmed, I do believe this is game over for Christianity. I have proved beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that Christianity is an evil, wicked religion which, and by the way, this is not a Nadir Ahmed argument. Every Holocaust scholar has accepted that the concept of deicide has brought in this horrible misery into the world and is responsible for the Nazi Holocaust, which is what we found inside the book of Thessalonians. Ahmed, your Christianity is over. I've brought to you not just, it is a culmination of academic scholarship, all agree on this. And and like I said, I will leave Islam right after you. If the criteria for truth, one of the criteria for truth is a book shouldn't bring horrible suffering and misery into the world. Unimaginable type of suffering and misery. Let's look at these pictures of
Like
what Paul did.
9/11.
Okay, if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or Islam is responsible for 9/11, I will leave Islam. How, Ahmed? How many? I'm not going to repeat it anymore. Okay, I will not repeat it anymore. The same darn thing. Now I'm going to address the verse of the Quran about the disciples being the uppermost or superior. You know, if I'll give you a concession here. If you cannot leave Christianity right now based on the evidence, then just accept that yes, my book is responsible for the Nazi Holocaust, and I just don't know what to do with it. I will accept that tonight. I'll give you these two options, then I'll address the verse you quoted. Go ahead.
Really interesting because you told me that you are going to address these verses which you didn't. So I would love you to do that.
Mhm.
Now, you might be true in the fact that the Quran didn't cause the Holocaust, but it did cause 9/11. It caused ISIS, it
I
caused
will
Mecca,
interrupt you, Ahmed, to
it
stay on
caused
topic.
the
I will interrupt as
Crusades.
a
Yeah,
moderator to please stay on topic and make sure you focus on it. This is not the topic is not jihad in Islam. The
yeah,
topic
it
is
was
reliability of the
reliability of the
Bible.
Gospels, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, please
So,
stay on topic.
in light
Thank
of
you.
in light of the reliability of the Gospel, I quoted Surah Saf and Surah Imran,
Yeah, yeah.
ayah
We'll
55.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would love you to clarify what these verses say about the true followers of Jesus, and what the New Testament actually was. Well, what the Injil actually was. I would love to uh, be clarified by you on that.
Mhm.
So you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and address the verse, but I will ask you, you're being cornered here, Ahmed. You can't run. You got to leave Christianity because I have argued a conclusive death. I've given a death blow to the religion of Christianity. It's not the peace and love that you think it was that you were sold on. There's something very evil about this religion. Now, you're not in America, but I can go to any Jewish synagogue. Any Jewish synagogue. It's a challenge. And this is for any Christian with a video camera and speak with any rabbi or any Jewish scholar. They will agree with everything I said. They won't agree with demon possessed because I don't think they believe in demons, but they will agree the New Testament has brought this horrible suffering and death into our lives. Every Jew, well, I wouldn't say every Jew, every learned rabbi, scholar will accept that. And we'll look at some references on that as well. Okay, here's the verse which you're quoting. Chapter 16, verse 14. It said
Yep.
about the disciples of Jesus that we will make them believers against the enemies, so that and they will prevail, basically. And so if you look, it's the Christian, it's the Christians, the followers of Paul who prevailed. So what's the problem here? Well, first thing you need to understand that in the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 111, the disciples are identified as Muslims. Bear witness, we fully submit. Basically, well, the word there is actually Muslimun. As you can read the Arabic there, they're saying, look,
That's
we are
okay.
Muslims.
Yeah.
Please, no, yeah, yeah. So we need to understand there were three religions there: Judaism, there was Islam, and then there was Christianity. Christians did prevail in what they wanted to achieve, which was building churches, spreading the demon possessed gospels. They succeeded, yes. But also, you need to understand that the Muslims also succeeded. They succeeded in many ways. One way is that they succeeded in saving Jesus, peace be upon him, from crucifixion. That was their job, to save Jesus. And in First Corinthians chapter 15, verse 14, it says, and if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is in vain and your faith is in vain. So, yes, they made Christianity in vain, and thus they prevailed by saving Jesus. Go ahead.
Okay. Beautiful connection. However, though, you threw Ibn Kathir and Al-Qurtubi under the bus by saying that it was ultimately about Muslims, that they were identified as Muslims, because according to these two Islamic commenters, they say that it's about the early Christians uh, who uh, who were immediately following Jesus after he was raised up. So the thing is, I get your refutation, but there's even more confusion now, because Tafsir al-Qurtubi and Ibn Kathir, they are Muslim commenters too. They say something different, and what you're saying is basically from the Tafsir al-Tabari and Tafsir al-Mawdudi, which it's basically it says that it's about the ultimate fulfillment through the advent of Islam. Like you
Mhm.
said, they were Muslims. But here's more confusion right here, because two of the commenters, and they're very renowned Muslim commenters, Tafsir Ibn Khatir and Tafsir al-Qurtubi, they have a different point of view about this verse. And Tafsir al-Tabari and Tafsir al-Mawdudi, they have a different point of view of this verse. So the confusion just gets deeper. Is this verse about those people who immediately followed after Jesus? Is this verse about pointing? Is this verse pointing to the Muslims? What is this verse really about? And really, that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that, and the Quran says that at a point, the Quran makes it clear that at a point they were true followers of Jesus, right? Do you agree with that? That the Quran says that at one point there were true followers of Jesus. It's okay, right? But it really just leaves us there, wondering, pondering, who were
Okay, that's
they?
that's your
Who
2
were their
minutes.
lives?
That's your 2
Yeah, what
minutes.
were their
Thank you.
lives?
Thank you so much.
What did they
Okay.
believe?
So, okay, you're kinda running away from the first challenge. You have to leave Christianity or at least acknowledge that the New Testament
What kind of
does
challenge is
cause
that?
misery, suffering, and
Let's
death.
do a
Okay, Ahmed,
yeah.
no, no, let me take my 2 minutes. Like, let me take my 2 minutes, please. Okay, you gotta first accept I've put you in a kind of like a checkmate position where you know you're checkmated. If you ever played shatranj, chess, if you've ever played
Yes,
chess,
yes.
you can understand
Oh
when you're
no,
in a checkmate.
you're
Okay,
you're playing chess. I'm playing
okay,
checkers.
okay. So let me continue. Now, you see, you are in a checkmate position here, and you're trying to get out of this checkmate by appealing to the Quran. No, you are in checkmate, and it is game over. Okay, but let me just first very quickly address what you are saying. You're saying, well, the commentaries raises and introduces all this confusion. I am clarifying the confusion for you. That's my job. So, my job as a Muslim apologist is to take all the commentaries and what people have said and break it down into an easy peasy, lemon squeezy way for you to understand. I am telling you that there were three religions, okay, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. The Christians prevailed. That's fine. They prevailed in what they wanted to do, but the Muslims also prevailed in what they wanted to do, that they saved Jesus from from crucifixion, and that invalidates Christianity. So they prevailed over the Christians. So there you go. There's a perfectly understandable, no confusion explanation. So take it. Okay, don't tell me about, okay, well, the commentaries are confusing. Sure, they're confusing. They confuse me a little bit too. But let's get back to the challenge, Ahmed. I'm going to challenge you right here in front of everybody. Just stop running away. Stop. There's nowhere to run. Okay? If you think, okay, well, he'll forget about it, I won't. Either you leave Christianity or you acknowledge that, unfortunately, that my book has caused a Nazi Holocaust, and unfortunately I have no explanation for why that is. And make some kind of reconciliation here, okay? But just stop running away. So many people are going to be watching this, Ahmed. They're going to see you keep running. It's going to look bad. Just be
We both
honest
know
and
who's
address the
running.
argument. Okay, go ahead. Now address the issue about the Nazi Holocaust. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it was done by the funny mustache man, not Paul. And however, though, I can say the same for Islam, but because he's pointing at Paul for what Adolf did, I am going to point at a certain person called Mohammed for what Al
Ah-
Qaeda, ISIS,
Ahmed, I will
Mossad,
ask for you
everyone.
to stay on
Don't cut me
topic.
off now. Okay,
But
now
as a moderator, I will
let me
ask for
finish
you to
my
stay on
argument.
topic, please.
You're
This
doing the
topic
same
is not
thing,
jihad in
and
Islam.
when I'm returning your argument to you, you have a problem with that.
Okay, I just asking you to
So
stay
yeah,
on topic, please.
yeah, and the thing is, if he says Nadir Ahmed, obviously he's my elder. I respect him for being my elder, but according to him, obviously, and he says, the articles he showed me that Paul caused the the what do we call the Jewish uh, massacre or genocide, Holocaust, whatever.
Mhm.
The Christians can do the same, really, because now it's not an argument. It's just it's a really it's an argument which is multi-directional, you know, multi-directional argument, and I don't see how the crucifixion or resurrection of Jesus or Jesus being divine has anything to do with what happened with the Jews in the Holocaust. I don't see a correlation there. Our original title was The Reliability of the Gospels. I don't know what is the correlation between the Holocaust and the reliability of the Gospels. I'm just utterly confused. But I am willing to have another debate with or discussion with Nadir Ahmed on we can do it on divinity of Christ if
Mhm.
he wants. But
Okay, that's time.
as for
Well,
now, I'm just
okay.
confused.
I think what needs to happen next, we need to do a debate on jihad in Islam, talk about ISIS and 9/11 and all that stuff. Because if it's true that Islam brings terrible suffering, like what we saw here with whatever, I will leave Islam. And oh, by the way, my other followers, they have to leave Islam too. Okay, so it's not just me. I said if what the Christians are saying is true, we all have to leave Islam. Don't follow this false religion. But anyways, let me. So I think that should be the next topic, so I can address these points which you're raising. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start my timer here. Reset. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the problem is, you said I just don't see it. I just don't see how this caused all this problems. Okay, I'll walk you through. Yeah, because I know, because the problem is you've been brainwashed by Christian propaganda, and they didn't tell you about these things. Now I'm telling you about these things. Okay, here's how it works. This is the Anne Frank house right here. Okay. She had a very good article on this. She said the Jews in Europe have been discriminated against and persecuted for hundreds of years, often for religious reasons. For starters, they were held responsible for the death of Jesus. Why? Because that's what the Bible teaches in First Thessalonians. Okay. First Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14. The Jews who killed Jesus. You quoted the mustache man, Hitler. Let's go to Adolf Hitler. He wrote a book called Mein Kampf. Here's what he wrote. And his mentality is as a foreigner to a true spirit of Christianity, as his character was foreign, blah, 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 blah. But he said and the founder of Christianity made no secret indeed of his estimation of the Jewish people. When he found it necessary, he drove those enemies of human race out of the temple of God. He's referring to the Bible verse about making a rope, because then and always they use religion as a means for advancing their commercial interests. But at the time, Christ was nailed to the cross for his attitude towards the Jews. So here's how it works, Ahmed. This verse created a lot of anger, hatred, a special type of hatred and malice. Because you see Jesus's body dangling on the cross, you just think, oh, who could have done this? Oh, the Bible tells us the Jews did this. Okay? That's how it starts generating this hatred and animosity in the people. So that's how it works. So now that you know, I will ask for you to please leave Christianity. Again, leave Christianity, because we see it's false now.
Thank you for preaching. The original topic was the reliability of the Gospels, and our debate is I don't even 1 hour 42 minutes, and you're quoting Mein Kampf in a debate in the reliability of the Gospels. You're quoting Mein Kampf, so that is really interesting approach. Really interesting approach. Now the thing is, you want me to renounce my faith right here, right now, as if I'm going to so easily do it because I believe in something and I have a reason to believe something. And it's not easy to leave Islam either, right?
Mhm.
Especially when you're in Asia. So the thing is that the challenge you have given me is not compatible with our topic today. And the evidence you're proving it's not even about the reliability of the gospels. Like if I was talking about another person, he would have been showing me the early church fathers. Oh, look at this, they added this to the Bible, they added that to the Bible, they did tahrif to the Bible. But you're not even talking about the reliability of the gospels. You're talking about the funny mustache man in his book. And yeah, basically saying that it all happened because Paul wrote it. Well, in our next debate, I can bring so many verses from the Quran and I can say the same thing because Allah revealed it to Prophet Muhammad and he and his scribes wrote it down because he was illiterate.
Mhm.
So many Muslims nowadays they do the same things and maybe even worse things than Hitler, and they're still doing it. It's not 1936, it's not 1946. They're still doing it. So yeah, now here's my challenge. Either you concede that when it comes to the Quran, it's 10 times more violent than the gospel, or we should have another debate on jihad and the Quran and the Bible and violence and all that. You have two options.
Mhm.
This is my challenge to you: either
All right.
concede or have another debate.
That's your 2 minutes. Okay, yes, definitely. I will. I've been saying this the whole night, Ahmed. I've been saying this literally the whole night. Yes, if you can show me and prove to me, rather than just making claims, oh, the Quran brings misery and suffering into the world, then yes, I will leave Islam. How many
Okay,
times I got to
great.
tell you that? Okay. And you hold me to the same, like how I'm pressuring you. Don't let me go. Don't let me go. You hit me with the same level of firepower that I'm hitting you with. Okay. Now you keep saying, well, what does this have to do with the reliability of the New Testament? Paul is the head of the church. He is the prophet who falsely claimed that he was an apostle. That's not what he is. He's an alleged prophet. And I'm showing you he is an evil, wicked, sinister man who is responsible for the death of 6 million Jews. Not my words. It's written right there on the United on AnneFrank.com. It's written on the United States Holocaust Memorial. It's written on Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial. It's Paul who is responsible for that. That's how this relates to the reliability of the New Testament. So what I'm doing, I'm just going after the very head of the church and knocking him out. So that way we don't have to talk about Polycarp and the demon possessed church fathers who spread AIDS to everybody.
You know,
Okay.
uh,
And so hold on a
can
second.
I speak
I'm
now?
almost done. I got 30 seconds. We still haven't talked about how circumcision protects people from HIV. That's 61%, I think, protection rate. Paul did away with that. So this is yet another evidence to show he's a demon possessed prophet. So now in Africa, 1 out of every 4 Christians, they are HIV positive. Why? One of the reasons is because they are not circumcised. Why? Because of Paul. So now how do you answer the issue of AIDS? Go ahead.
Before I answer the issue of AIDS, I would answer the issue of you saying that the demon possessed, allegedly, church fathers were all followers of John, right? If you look at church history, you'll see that Polycarp was a direct disciple of John, not Paul. Ignatius was a direct student of John, not Paul. Clement of Rome was a co-worker, and he was associated with Paul, but he was also associated with Peter. And Papias was connected to Matthew, not Paul. Most of the church fathers, they weren't even connected to Paul. And the church fathers say exactly what we say today. Jesus was divine, he died for the sin, rose from the dead. So how come can you bring Paul into this when the church fathers weren't even connected to Paul? They were connected straight to the disciples who we follow in order to follow Jesus.
Okay. You want me to
Laugh
answer
all you
that?
want. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Let's get into this bakwas of the or church that, oh, I am the
Oh no, no, no.
disciple
If you
of the,
use
okay.
that word, if you use that word, I'm gonna start, and I
They're
don't
claim
want to start.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm saying the claims of these people is bakwas. But let me go ahead and start my 2 minutes. Okay, now I'll address you about this. These people made claims that I was a disciple of John, and yes, of course, the church fathers did make these claims, but that's all they are. They're just claims. Everybody made these claims. Here, let me explain.
Okay.
Let's share. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me take my 2 minutes. Let's
Yeah,
look.
yeah.
There
Sure.
were many churches which arose after Jesus left this earth. Let's look at the Ebionite church over here. Okay, the Ebionite church viewed Paul as an apostle, uh, and rejected his. They basically rejected Paul. They did not believe in the divinity of Christ. And guess what? They all made the claims of apostolic authority. Oh, I got this from John. I got this from, it was a dime a dozen. Let's read from the scholar Dr. Bart Ehrman in his book Lost Christianities. It says all were uh, okay. Where did he write? Let me, yeah, okay. Actually, is this what he? I think this is what he wrote over here. If I got my references right here, okay. He's talking about the pseudo anonymous books. Okay, books which have been forged to claim that they're from Peter, stuff like that. All four kinds of books were in wide circulation in the early centuries of Christianity. All were claiming to have apostolic authority. They're all making the same claims. All the churches said the same thing. We got this from the disciples of Jesus, okay? To settle disputes over what to believe and how to act. Ebionite church, all the church who didn't basically claim this, I guess should be the question. Dr. Richard Carrier wrote a very good article on this. He said the kooks, and basically this is back in 1998, the kooks and quacks of the Roman Empire. He's talking about the church fathers. He says there is abundant evidence that these were times replete with kooks and quacks of all varieties, from sincere lunatics to ingenious frauds, even innocent men mistaken for the divine. And there was no end to the fools and loons who would follow and praise them, like what we see today. So telling us that, oh, these guys had apostolic authority that claimed it, that doesn't prove anything.
Okay. Let me play your game for a while. Uh, did Muhammad claim that he was a prophet of God? Let me, since you're bringing all these arguments up from an agnostic who also says terrible things about Islam and the Quran, let me, you know, let me play the same game. Prophet Muhammad said that I'm a prophet from God. Zero eyewitnesses in the cave of Hira, right?
If I may interrupt, stay on
Manuscripts
topic.
burned,
Ahmed, you're off
manuscripts
topic.
burned. Let me talk, please. I
As a
love
moderator, I'm
you.
just telling you,
Let me
please stay on
talk.
topic. Okay.
Manuscripts burned by Uthman, the third Khalifa of Islam, not the first, not the second, the third Khalifa of Islam. Manuscripts upon manuscripts of the Quran burned, and he compiled and rewrote the Quran, under the team of Zaid bin Thabit. Yet you still believe in it, don't you? Can you show me any prehistoric uh, manuscript which says that Abraham and Ishmael built the Kaaba or anything like that, apart from Quran and Hadith? And even in the Hadith, like once I quote Fidal Quran, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let me ask you: you believed in the Quran despite all these facts, right? And the same people, Bart Ehrman, you're appealing to, the same person says that Jesus was crucified and Islam is a false religion and it's also a demon possessed religion. The same person says that. The person you're using in order to defend Islam is the person who is against Islam, who proves his argument against Islam too, because he's an agnostic, right? At the start of the debate, I said that what the agnostics do and the atheists do is
Okay, I
that
think
they
that's
deny
time.
church
That is
history.
time. That is time. Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I'll just issue, kind of a warning to you, Ahmed, to please stay on topic. It seems like when you get stuck, you go to Islam, but I need you to really, debate and defend the New Testament, regardless of whatever Islam teaches or not. You gotta focus on this book. And it seems like when you get in trouble, you start talking about jihad or whatever these other issues are. Okay, so let's get back to the topic. I'm going to take my 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna ignore pretty much everything you said because it's just not on topic. It's not my job here tonight to prove Islam. Yeah, definitely I'll do that in another debate, but that's not what we have kind of gathered here for. We need to talk about the reliability of the New Testament. So all you're doing, as Dr. Richard Carrier is pointing out, You're just following the kooks and quacks of the Roman Empire. And he mentioned everybody used to make these claims about apostolic authority. I got this from the disciple of Jesus. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got it from John. These claims are a dime a dozen. Okay, so let's take a look at some more evidence here. And you never showed us. You quoted Polycarp. Okay, well I'm showing you that other people made the same claims Polycarp made from the other churches. In fact, who didn't make these claims? I guess it should be
Yeah,
asking. Okay,
and a
so
lot
now
of people wrote their own
let me
manuscripts
show
of the
you
Quran as
other
well.
testimony.
Does
Please
that mean
stop.
the Quran is
Stop
false? No, right?
interrupting. Please stop interrupting. Okay.
No, the thing is, sorry
Hold
to
on. Let
cut you
me.
off, but the thing
You,
is that
you
if
don't
you
know your
have a
church history.
criteria, if you
Okay, you know
question
you're
Christianity with
interrupting.
a criteria,
You
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 should
will
be
have
able to. We should question you with the same criteria, right?
that's fine. You can do that, but just not right now. Okay, let me take my.
Why?
I'm gonna take my 2 minutes. Okay, because
Who's
we've got to
running now?
focus. Okay. I am running away right now because I want to stay focused on the New Testament. That's why now, if you feel like I'm not being fair with it or holding a double standard against the Quran, sure, we can debate that when the time comes. But we can't debate both at the same time. So yes, I am running away from the Islamic issues you're raising. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start taking my 2 minutes again. So problem is, Ahmed, you don't know church history, and I want to educate you on that. So if you're just going to, as Dr. Richard Carrier said, just blindly follow the kooks and quacks of the Roman Empire, who there was no end to the fools and loons who would follow them, as he said in that article, you should read that article. Okay, that's a problem. You are just reading one side of, I guess, some Christian propaganda, but let me educate you on church history. Now, this is from Celsus, okay? And he was right around that time. Listen to what he said about the Christians. It is clear to me that the writings of the Christians are a lie, and that your fables are not well enough constructed to conceal this monstrous fiction. I have heard that some of your interpreters are on to the inconsistencies, and he goes on talking about how the church is just basically making up stuff. Not only that, but even your own church caught people fabricating and lying. And they asked him, "Well, why did you do this?" He said, "I did it for the love of Paul." Let me get that reference for you real quick. Love of Paul. They caught him. They basically the Christian forger who had been convicted by a church tribunal, you know, and he was fabricating letters of Paul. He says, "Why did you do it? For the love of Paul." I mean, here's my point. Here's my point. But see, the thing is, okay, certain church fathers made claims that they had apostolic authority. All right, fine. I mean, but what do you do with all the evidences from other churches who made the same claim? Okay. Not only that, but now you've got other testimony from Celsus and others who say that your church is fabricating and lying. The Ebionite says Paul is a false prophet. What do you do with all that other testimony? I guess is my question for you.
Well, the honest question is that you compare the testimonies, you watch their history, and then you realize who is telling the truth and who is false, just like how the early church fathers did, right? Now, again, you brought up testimonies and you asked a very good question. How can we assume that a testimony is true and a testimony is false? And I told you in a really simple and concise manner that you go into the history, you look into the history of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, you see, were they really with Jesus? And then you look at the apostolic fathers like Ignatius and Polycarp, and you look at their history. Were they really with John? If
Hmm.
yes, then they're telling the truth. If no, they're lying, right?
Right.
So that's the first part of my answer. And the second part is basically a question, because if you raise the concern of these false testimonies, along with some of the true ones of the church fathers, when you raise this concern of the false testimonies, I myself raise the concerns of those false manuscripts which Uthman had to burn. And Musallima bin Kazab. Don't forget about him. Yeah. We had many false prophets at the time of Muhammad as well, many manuscripts that had to be burned. How do we know that the manuscript today we have, the Quran, is true, right? But you believe in the Quran, despite all that, despite Musallama bin Kazab, despite Uthman burning dozens of manuscripts, despite the goat eating one of the revelation of the Quran. You believe in the Quran, right? So the same criteria which you're using against Christianity, Islam doesn't stand that same criteria which you're using to disprove Christianity. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I bring up Islam in the first place. That if you're using a criteria, you're using an argument, use an argument that
Okay,
is not
okay, it's my
self-destructive to
time.
Islam.
Okay,
Yeah,
no, there's
go
no
ahead.
such thing. This is all just one big delusion you're suffering from.
Oh my God.
You think that Islam has the same problem. I accept the challenge of the authenticity of the Quran, and we will debate that when the time comes. And I will prove to you
Okay,
Quran is
let's go
100%
to.
authentic. I'll prove to you
Should
that
I
this is a
should I
scientific
quote
miracle.
should I quote Abu Bakr Kitab Fidal
No, no, no,
Quran?
no. This is
I have
my
it right
time.
here.
This is my time. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. So the problem is the issue is not that I'm holding a double standard. The issue here is you get stuck. And when you get stuck, Ahmed, I'm just explaining to you so you can improve your debate skills. Okay. You start talking about Islam, you start talking about jihad, you start talking
I
about
told you why.
Uthman, you start talking about things because you are fried. You know you cannot, you're saying stupid stuff. Well, you gotta compare their history and testimony, then you will know that they are truly disciples of John. Nobody is that stupid to say stuff like
I
that. Okay,
already
there's
gave
no
you my
way.
answer. Look into the
There's no
history
okay. Stop
of the
interrupting,
father
Ahmed. This is my
and the
time.
disciple.
This is my time, Ahmed. Okay, I'm gonna add just 10 more seconds to my time because you are interrupting me.
Mhm.
Ahmed, listen. Nobody is so stupid as to say that you can really prove these things 2,000 years later. You cannot prove these things. It is exactly what Dr. Richard Carrier is saying. You're just blindly following the kooks and quacks of your demon possessed prophet, Paul. That's all you're doing. You're just basically following the attestations and affirmations and faith proclamations of the kooks and quacks of the Roman Empire. No, you cannot compare their history and testimony, and then you're going to know, oh, he's really a true follower of John. There's no way. You're talking bakwas. This is when I said this was bakwas. This is exactly it. You're saying things that even the Christians will never say, saying things so absurd and nonsensical up here tonight. Okay, but if you want
I
to,
can say the same
if you
about you.
want to, if you think you can prove that Polycarp was truly a disciple of John, let's just assume it. Okay, show it. Show me how you can prove that. Okay, no Christian would ever say something so stupid like that, but you think you can? Okay, go ahead, show it to me.
Let me play your game for a while. Show me that Uthman is the caliph and he met Muhammad. Show me. Again, not even that. Okay, show me who wrote Surah Al-Baqarah. Show me the author of Surah Al-Baqarah. The reason why I'm bringing up Islam is because the same questions you're bringing up for Christianity, despite my answers, you won't survive that questions. You won't survive your own questions as a Muslim. Tell me who wrote Surah Al-Baqarah or Surah Al-Ikhlas or Surah Al-Ma'idah or Surah Al-Ankabut or Surah Al-Shura or Surah Al-Rahman. Tell me who wrote them. No, you were questioning me for hours upon hours. Tell me how these church fathers are true, and tell me how these disciples are true, and you're not following Paul. How do you know you're not following Usman? Hmm? I can ask the same question. The thing is, I give you the answers, but you do not adhere to them. You should know about this. I'm giving you the answers. You're not adhering to them. You went on to Hitler and the genocide or whatever. You went there. You didn't answer my full question. Now let me ask these same questions to you. Tell me who wrote Surah Al-Ma'idah or Baqarah or Surah Al-Shura or Surah Al-Azab or Surah Al-Anbiya or Surah Al-Imran, Surah Al-Awqaf, Surah Al-Ankabut. Show me. Give me the evidence who wrote the Quran. Which men wrote the Quran? You don't have an answer, do you? Yeah, you can go on tangents, you can preach again, 2 hour long debate. Look at that. I'm still live. Oh my God. But you don't have the answer. Who were the true followers of Jesus, which Surah Saf Ayah 14 is quoting? Who were they? What were their names? What is the original Injil, which we don't have, which the Quran is quoting? You don't have the original Injil. You don't know the true followers of Christ. The Quran is really vague about them. I know it. Who wrote Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah Al-Anbiya, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Baqarah? You don't know. Let me ask you the same questions. I'm asking you the same questions and you don't have the answer. So when you attack Christianity with certain questions,
Okay, that's time. That's time.
keep in
Okay,
mind that your own
thanks.
religion won't stand them.
Okay. So let me start my time. Look, I've already
Yeah,
explained
go
to
ahead.
you. I accept your challenge on everything you've said. Show me who wrote Surah Ikhlas. Show me who authored all of this. Yes, I will accept the challenge on debating the validity of the Quran, but this is not the debate for that. You see, Ahmed, what you're not understanding is when you get stuck and you know you cannot answer the challenge, like you're going to really prove Polycarp was a disciple of Jesus. I'm sorry, disciple of Paul. You know
I
you
don't
can't
need
prove
to
that.
answer the
Hold on a
challenge. You
second.
can go look into the church history
Hold on
and
a
you'll
second.
know.
Stop. No interrupting. When you know you can't prove this stuff, then you start talking about the Quran and you start talking about Islam. Why? Because you're stuck and you know that the arguments that was raised against you regarding the New Testament are valid. But you're like, okay, so what? But what about Islam? Islam has the same problem. No, it doesn't. I will lead the debate
Oh,
on those
really?
topics, and I will prove to you
Oh,
today that.
really?
Hold on, stop interrupting, please, Ahmed. I will answer all your
Sorry.
challenges. Okay. But this is not the debate for that. So I want so you talked about church history. That's fine. I've basically answered you on that. It's all a scam, as Dr. Richard Carrier pointed out. You're just following the attestations and affirmations and faith proclamations of the kooks and quacks of the Roman Empire. Christianity is nothing more than that, as Dr. Richard Carrier pointed out. So let's get back to the challenge to this demon possessed prophet. So it wasn't just the Nazi Holocaust, but we also see here that Paul did away with the obligation of circumcision. Here's the study which I was showing you from CDC.gov. In 2007, a voluntary medical male circumcision program was endorsed by the WHO and Joint United States Program on HIV and AIDS after it was found to be associated with about 60%. Did you see that? Let me quote you that number again. 60% reduction in AIDS, in HIV transmission. But Paul did away with this protection. How do you explain that?
Well, I think the best way to explain that is that circumcision, what it is now, wasn't the same as back then. We had, and if you look at history and not these articles, if you look at the actual history, you'll see that there were fatalities due to circumcision because back in the day, uh, there were no there wasn't really a way to fight infections, especially in certain areas. And yeah, there were fatalities. You can go look it up. So the thing is, you're steering the conversation towards a topic which is not even relevant. Oh, Paul, he got rid of circumcision. Yeah, and you know, Uthman got rid of many things too, including that verse in the Quran with the suckling, you know, suckling 10 times to the grown men.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, the issues you're bringing up aren't really making your case. They're actually going against you because every issue you bring up, you see the same thing in the faith you believe in. So if you're trying to dismantle my faith with certain arguments, you're also dismantling your faith with them. Along with them, it's a self-destructive argument.
Okay, that's time.
Circumcision
Okay.
was different back in the
Okay,
day.
so let me correct your misinformation. I mean, what's right? What right now? What you're doing? You're desperate. Okay, every time you appeal to Islam, is because you can't answer the challenge. If circumcision was so dangerous and so horrible, what do you have to say about all these Jews and Muslims? There's about 1 billion Muslims on this earth. Okay, first of all, when you say circumcision is so dangerous, you can the harm outweighs the risk is basically what your argument is. You're
Yeah,
just
back
making
in the
that
day,
stuff up.
especially
You are just
back in the
making
day.
up
No, you can
crap.
look it up.
Stop, Ahmed.
Okay, I can
Stop
bring up.
interrupting. Stop interrupting, please. And this clearly contradicts what modern science says. Science is telling you it's a voluntary medical circumcision program that the WHO, World Health Organization, has
You see.
basically.
Hold on.
Okay, hold on a
You
second.
see, it's
Stop interrupting.
voluntary. It's voluntary. It's not
Stop.
mandatory. It's
Stop
voluntary. You
interrupting.
see,
Okay,
hook
Ahmed.
yourself.
Ahmed, stop interrupting. Okay, you know I'm gonna honestly I'm gonna give myself more time here. Every time you interrupt me, I'm gonna start my time over. Okay, so let me start my time for 2 minutes. Okay. The issue here is they don't want to I don't know why the medical community, they don't want to force it upon people. But we'll have to research why it's not something forced. Well, by the government or something like that. But look, read the statistic here. It's 60% reduction in the transmission of AIDS. 1 out of every 4 Christians in South Africa is HIV positive. So, okay, let's assume that there's some risk involved, as what you were saying, but there's some benefit. Paul should have known that. If he were the true prophet of God, he should not have just, said, okay, guys, no need for circumcision. He should have understood the science behind the move there, but he didn't. So please keep in mind in Africa, if you go up to the north area, no, it's like Morocco. Let's just take Morocco for one example. It's under 1% of AIDS. Christian South Africa, 25% of them are HIV positive. That's horrible. It's just unimaginable. So I guess my question here is, so it's not just the Nazi Holocaust that this prophet, which you are following, brought to the world, and not just the Nazi Holocaust, but 2,000 years of persecution and death. And you know what a pogrom is? Let me show you what a pogrom is. The pogroms, uh, this is a pogrom. Pogrom. Yeah, a pogrom. This was inspired by the New Testament. This is just basically people going out and just killing Jewish people because they're responsible for the death of Jesus. This is allegedly the Jews are basically responsible for this. So I will renew my challenge here. How can you follow a prophet who is responsible for all this death and destruction without appealing to Muhammad or Islam? Go ahead.
Again, I would just say that if you really think that it all happened because of the prophet Paul or the apostle Paul, you're presenting an argument which is self-destructive. All right. You're quoting one verse of the gospel where it says that, you know, Jews are responsible for the death of Jesus, and you're ignoring the whole gospel basically. You're ignoring love thy neighbor as you love yourself. You're ignoring the whole gospel basically. You're ignoring what Jesus did, what he taught, and you're fixed upon Paul, right? Because you think as a Muslim that we follow Paul, not Jesus. Well, let me tell you, follow Jesus. No one else. Through the disciples. Masihu Akbar. Al-Masihu Akbar. Okay? So the argument you present is basically self-destructive. We're gonna keep going in circles. And in the end, what's gonna happen is destruction. Not only because of Christianity, because the thing is the questions you're asking, you ask the Christians of answering. You don't have the answers to it yourself. It's a destructive argument. It's a really destructive argument. You know what? Go ahead and search Baldia Isania. Go ahead and search Baldia Isania. I'm pretty sure you're aware of it since you're from Pakistan. Search Baldia Isania, where a Muslim mob, because of what do we call? politics, a Muslim mob, burned down the whole factory with lady workers who were Muslim, their own people. They were working there. They burnt it down to the ground, and the bodies was floating in sludge, charred beyond recognition. I can clip this video and I can show the actual photos on my channel, but I will get demonetized. So if you're saying that Paul is responsible for this much destruction, brother, we have bigger fish to fry in Islam. If Paul caused 1% of destruction, which is false in the first place, but if he caused 1% of destruction, then
Okay,
your
that's
prophet
time.
caused 50,
Okay,
100.
okay. Okay, let me start my time. Okay. Yes, he said this is a self-destructive argument. Yes, yes, Ahmed. I want to
For
destroy
Islam.
Islam if it is responsible for the death and suffering or any kind of misery for the nonsense which you basically raised. If Islam is
Look up
responsible,
Baldia Sania.
yes, yes, I
You
want
bought
to
up,
leave
yeah,
Islam. I
you
love
bought up,
you hit it
you
on the
bought up the,
nose. Okay, stop,
you bought
stop,
up
stop.
Jewish,
Okay,
you bought up the Holocaust. I'm
stop.
bringing up Baldia Sania. Fair,
Stop.
fair.
Okay.
Go look it up.
Stop interrupting. Okay, I'm going to start my time again. I am telling you that you hit it on the nose. This is what apologetics is all about. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You finally got it. This is what truth is all about. You said, Nadir, you're bringing up self destructive arguments. Yes, you got it.
Yeah, for Islam.
I'm giving you A plus as one of my students today. You are the one that it
Thank
took
you
two
so much.
hours. It took 2 hours for you to finally realize that's what we want to do. We want when you bring up self-destructive arguments, that means you finally found the truth. If this argument destroys Islam, where Islam is doing basically, some misery, like you mentioned, some factory got burnt or something, and Islam is responsible for that, knock out Islam as well. I want to know the truth. I want to know if my Quran is really a book of peace and love, which I believe it is, or is it like how you described it? Would you? So tonight, I guess the next debate is going to be on that topic. I can't wait. I'm already excited about that, and I accept the challenge. Is Islam?
Me
If
too.
Islam is not a
Same.
religion of peace, then I will leave Islam. Okay, but let me now. So you're right. Maybe both religions are false. Both religions are evil. It could be hypothetically true. Now, you said, what about all the loving passages, love thy neighbor? Yeah, there are many good things in the New Testament. One should not just ignore them. I totally accept what you're saying on that. But the argument remains. Let's take a look at the argument, which I've presented to you today. That I'm sorry, where is my arguments? Okay, the issue which I raised, still the author of the gospels knew that this was going to bring death, suffering, and misery by saying this. It is still responsible to a certain extent, even with all the good teachings in the book. It is still responsible for the Nazi Holocaust. So, okay, I will leave Islam next week if you prove your case. But right now, you got to leave Christianity. Are you ready to do that because of the suffering that Apostle Paul, as well as nudity, which we haven't got into that yet, and the nudity which Apostle Paul brought into the world
You
from the
talk about it.
bikinis? What?
I don't want to see them again. The bikinis.
Oh no, no, I don't actually. So basically, I didn't put the women there. I just got the clothing. It's permissible to
No.
look at the clothing.
No. Come on. That's Nadir. Come on.
Mhm. Wait a
Come
second.
on.
Oh, wait a second. This is
Come
the
on,
way
man.
Christians dress. Christians wear this clothes. Are
Nope.
you a Christian? Are you
Nope.
Christian?
Yeah, I
You're
am
not
Christian,
Christian?
but
Do
also
do
no,
Christian
I
wear
am
this
Christian.
clothes?
Look, you're no. I'm
Huh?
Christian, and look, I am Christian, and let me tell you that the raqqasain, the dancers in Arabia, either they're Muslim, even they're Muslim, they wear the same clothing. Let me tell you this.
Okay, if Islam
Go
allows,
go search it
okay,
up. Go search it up.
did
Go
okay,
search it up.
hold on a second. Let's hold on a second.
Raqqasa al
Ahmed,
Dubai. Go search it
is
up.
this in your
No,
religion?
no,
Is this clothing
the
permissible?
Muslim woman. Look,
Okay.
listen to me for a second. A lot of Muslim women also wear the same clothing. A lot of
Yeah.
Lebanese women wear the same clothing, and you can
Hmm.
look it up on the internet. And
Okay.
worst things you can look up on the internet. and you can look at the sheikhs and imams. Heck, you can look at the Afghanis who abuse the young children. You can look at them, what they're doing.
Okay,
So
okay,
don't bring
okay.
this
If
argument up, because
hold
again, this
on,
will
wait a second,
destroy
I will
you.
bring it up. I will bring it up because if Islam also allows, if Quran and Hadith allows nudity, then yes, it is also a huge problem. But this is not the topic. The issue here is Christianity. Now, look, I live in America. You've never left Pakistan, probably. In America, this is the
Come to
way Christians.
Pakistan, Habibi. If
Okay,
Musliman
okay.
are so
Let's
good,
not
come to
interrupt each other.
Pakistan.
Okay, okay. You know what? I'm gonna
Go
take a few
no,
minutes.
go away from
Stop
the
this
kafirun.
interruption.
Go away from the kafirun,
Stop
ya Habibi.
this
Come to
interruption.
Pakistan. The
Okay, I'm gonna start my
Muslimin.
2 minutes.
Come to them.
I'm gonna start my two
Yeah,
minutes. Let's
of course.
stop the interrupting. Okay, one of the problems, I think, you have not left Pakistan. You have not seen the world. Now, so let me educate you, Ahmed. This is the way Christian women dress. Okay. There, and if you look throughout the world, you'll never hear any Christian saying, "Oh, but you'll go to hell for wearing that," or "This is wrong." No. Why? Because Christians know that this is permissible in their religion. Everybody knows that. This is common sense that you seem to be not having. Okay, yes, you can wear, you can, this is called cleavage. You know what cleavage is? So basically, showing a portion of your breasts. Okay, and this clothes is permissible in Christianity. That's 100%. Nobody is going to deny that. Okay. Now, why is it permit? Now, this is the way. This is what godly women are supposed to be dressed like this. Now, if Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam orders, I guess allows for nudity, then Islam is wrong too, as you are pointing out. Like the raqs dancers, and if Islam allows that, then Islam is wrong. Simple. Okay, look at this Jewish woman. And I guess the question here is Jewish women, they had a specific way to dress where they cover everything.
Well,
Okay.
Jewish women also
You know,
wear bikinis
or
because you live
yeah.
in
Hold on.
America, I
Stop
assume. Yeah.
interrupting. Stop interrupting. Okay. The reason why is so you got to understand it within Judaism. This is again because you have not left Pakistan. You're not educated. Let me educate you. In Judaism, you have Orthodox Judaism who do follow the Torah to the letter. Then you've got more Reformed Judaism, which is basically they kind of water it down, wishy washy a little bit. So yeah, they of course are going to dress, like the rest of the society does. So that's why I'm quoting. I'm focusing just on the Orthodox. In the article I've pointed out to you, the WashingtonPost.com, a photo of an Orthodox Jewish woman. So this is all because of First Timothy chapter 2 verse 9, where it says, where he basically obscures what modesty is. He basically points out, there's really no like enforcement of it. Is it talking about, it's all open for interpretation. I've quoted for you, got questions. So my question is for you
Well,
is
if it's open
this
for interpretation,
this
no,
is
let
how
me
it
answer
used
first.
this is how it used
If
to
it's
be, which was
open
not
for
open for.
interpretation,
Okay. So
is it
what?
God's fault?
Yeah. So my no, this is Paul's
Oh,
fault.
really?
So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I've shown you the verse.
Okay, well,
It's First
okay.
Timothy. Okay.
Then
So my
the
question
verses in
for
the
you.
Quran about the Jews and the Christians is Prophet Muhammad's fault too. Then, right?
Okay, okay. So my question for you, I'm going to give you your 2 minutes. My question for you is: this is the way the Jewish women used to dress. Very, covering everything.
Look at the
Now it's
pictures of the
Christianity,
Christian
not
women
this.
from the 15th, 16th, 17th,
What's
18th
okay?
century.
So
You
my
will find
question
the
to you
same.
is: why is this acceptable in your religion? Go ahead. I'm going to start your 2 minutes.
It's acceptable in tradition, not religion. But
It's
also, we don't kill women for not wearing a hijab. We don't do that. Let me tell you. But being nude is not a part of Christianity. Woman being nude is not a part of Christianity. You can look at Mary, the mother of Jesus. She had a veil on her head. This is not a part of Christianity. This is part of culture. Even the Christians, in Pakistan, you won't see them wearing this. It's about tradition, and it's also about how people interpret the gospel, how people interpret their verse. Now, if you're blaming everything to Paul, then go ahead. It's a self-defeating argument. I already told you why.
Mhm.
You go ahead.
All right, so I'll answer that. It's very easy to answer. We don't kill women, neither do we. That's not what Islam teaches. This is off topic. You said
Okay,
it's
I'll show you. I'll
tradition,
show you
not
in the next
religion.
debate.
Okay,
I'll show you in the
stop
next debate.
interrupting. Stop
Hopefully, we
interrupting.
don't get
Okay,
demonetized.
okay, okay. Stop interrupting. Okay, you said this is tradition, not religion. to a certain extent, you're right. It's both. It's
Thank
tradition
you.
and religion. So basically,
Okay.
as a culture changes, people went back to the New Testament to see if this is permissible, if it's acceptable. The answer is yes. The New Testament doesn't have any clear condemnation on wearing a bikini. Okay, you pointed out that Mary was veiled, where on the statue they show her wearing like some veil, like a hijab on her head. That's fine. But the question which we need to ask is this acceptable to also wear a bikini? Okay, now let me show you what Christians, how you said this is about how people interpret the gospel. Yes. Let me show you the fatwa. You could kind of say Christian fatwa on the matter so we can all read this together.
Why
Okay,
you
so
mean?
this is from this is their understanding of First Timothy chapter 2 verse 9. Read. God, this is from the authoritative website, God Questions. Okay. So basically, it's should a Christian woman wear a bikini? When you read the article, you'll see there's no condemnation. And if even if there was, the second part is consequences, meaning like, okay, something could be wrong in your religion, but you know what? There's really no consequences. That's what I do. Like, everybody interprets a religion like that. But anyways, my point is this: the article made it very clear. The faithfulness of daughter of God is not ultimately measured by what she wears, but by her walk in the spirit. So she's basically saying, yeah, just be careful, just think about it. And yes, you can wear a bikini. This is from your own Christian website. Okay. Let's go to askacatholic.com. He says, modesty is an attitude. There are modest women, villagers in Africa who go about with their breasts exposed because it is their culture. Okay, so there, I've answered you on your original point. So my question to you is, do you think it's okay to this is your prophet, what he has brought to the world? Okay, Holocaust, nudity, and AIDS. Explain this to me, how he could still be a true prophet.
That's all your opinion, basically, that he bought all these things, right? And the problem with your opinion is it can also be easily dismantled. Now, your criteria for judging Paul, if I use your own criteria, then you should have to leave Islam too.
Yes.
Muhammad bought child marriage, cousin marriage, jihad, death, right? He did bought all these things, right? Nope. So here's my thing. Here's the problem. If you're judging Paul by a criteria which you made, then you should also judge your own prophet through the same criteria. But you know that if you do that, Islam falls. So you only use this criteria on the Christians, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep doing this. Doesn't matter. You know, yeah? Because if you use the same criteria on Islam and on Prophet Muhammad, you know you're going to lose. So you're just going to push this criteria just onto the Christians, just to run away from the real problems, right? Don't you? Just keep the Christians under pressure with this criteria, which is obviously going to destroy ourselves if used against us. Now, we can debate for another hour, or should we reschedule another debate? It's up to you.
Yeah,
We
so
can
what we can do, yeah,
reschedule it earlier
what we can
if
do
you
now,
want.
look, yeah, so let's do, because you've brought up an issue about jihad. And you are right. Look, you have nailed it on the dot. Look, if Islam has all these problems of bringing death, misery, and suffering, I'm ready to leave Islam. And it's like I keep telling you that the whole night, the whole morning,
Yeah,
I've been telling you
you
this.
did tell me.
Okay. And it's like you just don't want to listen. It's like you know that in this
I'm
debate,
listening.
I have no answers other than your religion has the same problem. Okay. That's like,
Yeah, that's
and like,
why that's
yeah.
why
And it's like,
you're only focusing
yeah.
it on
Okay,
Christianity,
okay,
right?
let me show you something. Let me show you something, okay? So, what I think you really need to do, you need to first of all figure out what you're talking about here. Okay, let me show you this. My debate on the topic of Islam and peace. Where is it? You should watch them. Okay, this shows you that I'm actually answering the questions which you are Nadir, debate, Islam, violence, and what, peace? There you go. Here's what I just did. What was it, 6 months ago? This answers everything you have basically brought up. So as you can see, I am debating it. This video right
Yep.
here, this is a hoax. I debated Robert Spencer, does Islam teach peace? The only reason why you don't see like
David Wood.
40 debates on this topic is because this is,
You
by the
did
way, this is
debate
a hoax.
AP, Apostate Prophet. Did you?
Yes,
Did,
yes. Thank
yeah.
you. That is a very, thank you for bringing up that. That's a good one for you to watch.
I watched it.
Apostate, yeah, Apostate Prophet Nadir Ahmed. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the first. It's the best video of your channel.
Oh, is it on my channel?
Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
think it is.
okay. Okay, here we go.
Maybe
So
I don't know.
my point to you, you see, Ahmed, I don't want to call you ignorant, but I think you're unaware of who you're dealing with. All the arguments you are raising against Islam, look, तुम्हारी religion be ये same cheez hai. It's not going to help you tonight because I am actively debating and defending all the issues you have raised here today, as you can see right in front of your eyes. Nobody is running away from the debate about Islam and peace. Nobody is. I'm leading the debate on the topic. But of course, in tonight's debate, I was running away, yeah, because that's not the topic of this discussion here, as you can see. So you're in big trouble here. You thought that, okay, I'll just say, what about your religion? Your religion has same thing. That's not going to work. Because next debate is going to be, guess what? What topic? Islam and violence. All right.
Perfect.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to even mention. Now, remember, we talked about the Jews killed Jesus, Jews killed Jesus. You know, one thing, in fact, what I'll end on this point, what I'm saying, this verse is from the devil, that the Jews killed Jesus because it brought so much misery and suffering in the world. What does Quran teach? What does Quran teach? It teaches that the Jews
Allah made it
did it.
appear so that if he was crucified, Surah
Yes.
An-Nisa,
Okay, hold
right?
on. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. What
Cryptomany.
does what
Cryptomany.
Islam
Ah,
teaches? Let's go to chapter. Let's go and now watch how Allah
Surah
removes
Nisa.
the Surah 4. How Allah removed the satanic verses of the Bible. Okay, look what it says
Yeah,
inside.
and it leaves a huge gap in the
Yeah.
narrative.
We can talk about that as well. No problem. Look, it states right here.
Yeah,
And for their boasting, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary,
yeah. The
messenger
Jews
of
came
Allah.
in both.
But they
Yeah,
neither killed him nor crucified him. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So that's really nice. That in a sense,
Allah
like
made it appear so.
What Islam did is it took away the satanic verse of the in the New Testament and threw it away. Why? Because we want to live in peace as Jews. For 1,000 years, the Jews lived
However,
under
though,
Islamic Sharia law and they lived in relative peace and harmony. Why? Because the allegation of deicide was not was not in the Muslims. That we as Muslims, we don't point the finger at the Jews and say, you killed our Messiah,
oh
you
my
killed our
God,
Messiah.
really,
We don't do that. Yes.
really,
And
oh really,
absolutely.
oh
And
come
so
on, man.
there is no charge of deicide. Deicide means a killing of God. And why? Because our Quran brings peace into the world. Surah 4, verse 150. If you look at the history of Muslims and Jews, go back and look in the history, and you will see that never did Muslims persecute the Jewish people because of them killing Jesus or really anything related to the Quran. You know, in the history, you'll find, they were robbed. You'll find that there was like problems, but religious persecution, not very much. Not, and one of the reasons why is because what Allah is doing in the Quran, it knew that by accusing the Jews of killing Jesus, this is going to be a horrible situation. It's going to bring so much violence and suffering into the world. God knew that. So then Allah revealed Surah 4, verse 157. Why? So we can live in peace with them. And that's what our history has shown. And so that's why we have the most. This is for your debate next week. I will argue
Yeah, of course.
that the Quran has the most peaceful verse in it that brought peace, love, and happiness into the world, chapter 4, verse 157, because it removed the stigma. Do you understand what a
Yes,
stigma is?
and it
Let me,
doesn't talk about the substitution theory
yeah,
whatsoever, which the Muslims
true or
recite
false. We could talk about that. The
every
Quran
single day.
explicitly
Committing
refutes
bidah.
deicide, inside Surah 4, verse 157, stating that the
Surah Nisa.
Jews did not kill Jesus by
Yeah, we
denying
can
that.
debate on that.
Okay, yeah, this is the argument I'm giving you for next week.
Hmm.
By denying that anyone killed a divine figure, Islam removed the theological stigma of Christ killer that profoundly shaped Christian anti-Semitism in Europe.
Yeah,
This
but
rejection,
do you believe that it raised other
okay,
problems and
oh,
confusions?
no, it didn't. This rejection of deicide meant that the Islamic civilization never developed a doctrine of Jewish collective guilt, which was created by the New Testament. As a result, the Jews lived under Muslim rule and were generally spared intense religious hatred, demonization, and violence that existed inside medieval Christendom. While the dhimmi regulation imposed certain social and legal restrictions, these were typical of pre modern states and did not stem from a belief that the Jews were cursed or something like that for killing Jesus. Overall, Islam's theological stance eliminated one of the deepest roots of anti-Semitism, which contributed to the long period and contributed to a long period of relatively peace and coexistence. Blah 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 blah. So, what I want you to do, I want you to just, we're going to put this true or false inside AI. Let's see what AI says about it. It might correct it to a little bit extent. I actually don't know. I don't know. So let's try it.
AI.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's
That's
see how
really
AI is going to handle it. Because,
interesting.
like I said, I don't know. I don't know how AI is going to answer. It might find
It's
some problems. Let's see. True.
I don't know,
Oh,
man.
nice. Allahu Akbar. You see what you
We
got
have
to face
Sheikh al
now?
AI now.
Well, yeah,
It,
AI.
it
You know why? Because
Sheikh al AI.
do you know why I use AI? It's because I know the people who I debate with, they don't have that historical background. They don't have an education in this matter. And I don't mean to put you down, but this is a great way for people who are not going to read the historical books, who are not going to do this proper research in it, for them to verify facts. And AI is going to be so. What my point to you is, you know, this
We
when
have Lily
yeah.
J. We have the male
Yes.
version of Lily J. We have Lily Nadir now.
Yeah. Well, not now. Now, hold on a second. Not all AI
Lily
is going to
Nadir.
agree. Let's go to Chat GPT. Maybe Chat GPT might find some fault with it. So let's do that. It could be. Well, okay, yeah. So Chat GPT did find some faults. Overall, mostly true. But it's an overstated conclusion. So okay, not bad. Let's go to
Yeah,
Grok. Grok.
here's the problem. Listen to me. AI is also not consistent most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh, I didn't pay for Grok. I'm sorry. Okay, my
But
point to you
that's
is
okay.
this is the argument you need to beat for next week. Surah 4, verse 157 brought peace, mercy, compassion, and love into the world. Okay? This is your four. I mean, the book of
This is your
Thessalonians.
challenge, right?
Yeah.
This is your challenge that you're giving to me. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So the difference is this: we see two verses in the Quran and the Bible, one stating the opposite things. In the Bible, it said the Jews killed Jesus, which brought in this horrible suffering and misery into the world. Now you got another verse in the Quran which states the opposite. Nope, the Jews didn't kill Jesus, and it brought peace, love, and mercy into the world. So I guess my
We can
question
certainly
to you
debate
is,
on that. Yeah.
yeah, how do you explain? So this goes back to, see, the thing is this: you keep saying that Islam, if I use the same criteria, Islam would be refuted as well. I want that. I've been telling you this for 2.5 hours, now almost 3 hours tonight. So my question,
Ask
I
and
want to give
you
you
shall
one.
receive.
I want to give you one final opportunity. Now that you know that you follow a prophet which has brought horrible, unimaginable suffering, misery into the world, and persecution, are you ready to leave Christianity?
After you leave Islam, that is.
Okay, yeah. I will leave Islam when you show me the evidence. But your being a Christian shouldn't be, any way attached to what Islam teaches. Okay, your Christianity
Why not?
seems to be
Why not?
well,
If
it.
I'm telling you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're a Muslim, right?
yeah.
So I
Okay,
have to bring up verses from the Quran too, because you believe in the Quran. What's wrong with that?
yes. If Islam teaches the same thing, I will leave Islam next week. Okay, on next Saturday, I will leave Islam when you show me when we debate this. But for right
All
now,
right.
next week I leave. Right now you leave. Go ahead. Are you ready to leave Christianity?
First you, after you.
No, no, no. I'm going to do it Saturday. You have to leave first.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I think your sound
Yeah.
went out, Ahmed. Okay, here you go. Okay, so then what you're saying next Saturday, we will debate jihad in Islam and peace and all that kind of stuff. We'll debate that, and if you prove and show me that look, Quran is causing all these problems, then yes, I will leave Islam. But then you will be ready to leave Christianity next week too, right?
Yeah, of course. But if I show you the evidence that Islam is violent, what will you do?
Yes. Well, if it teaches to kill innocent people, if it teaches to commit what we call crimes against humanity, then yes, I will leave Islam because I believe in being a good person. Islam made me a good, happy person, and I want to spread the love and joy of the Quran to the rest of the world. But if you show me, hey, listen, this book is actually okay. You might have some love and joy here, but look at all the death, suffering, and misery, and killing a child, or burning a
Challenge
church,
accepted.
or something like
Challenge
that.
accepted.
I will leave Islam. Okay, because Surah 4, verse 157 did bring mercy, love, and joy into the world. And that's what I do. You have any doubt about that? Let me ask you this question. AI said,
I
yes,
would
it's
say it
true.
brought more confusion
Huh?
than anything else.
What'd you say?
It brought more
Theological. Okay,
confusion
you're talking about
than anything else.
theologically. Okay, you're saying it brought some theological confusion. Okay, fine. Let's just agree with it. But
I
we're
didn't use
talking
the
about
word
violence.
theological, did I?
We're talking about removing violence.
Yeah, the thing is, the confusion it brought theologically
Yeah.
did result in a lot of violence because a
Okay.
lot of people disbelieved. And what happens when people disbelieve? Arguments.
What?
And what happens when
Oh,
arguments happen? Yeah,
okay.
we
Okay.
can look into the history on the next debate.
Okay.
Or
Okay, wait a second.
someone's calling
Just
me
because
again and
people
again, and it's getting
disagree on
annoying.
on
Yeah,
God, you're going to blame the religion? I mean, if the Bible teaches that Jesus is God, I will never blame the Bible for being teaching violence. Of course, that's your own personal theology. I welcome it. I respect it. That's you cannot blame a religion for teaching something of a different god or goddess.
so you believe
Ahmed, are
Jesus
you
is God?
crazy?
So you
Okay, let's
believe
get
Jesus is God?
what?
So you believe Jesus is God?
Debate number 3. Let's do it. We're going to do Islam, the religion
Yay!
of
Of
peace.
course, the divinity of Christ.
But I will give you an opportunity. Then next week, you have to leave Christianity because your book is an evil, wicked book, which has caused the death of 6 million Jews. Okay.
We'll see.
So if you could show me that with
We'll
the
see.
Quran, I will leave it, the Quran. I will leave Islam. All right, Ahmed. All right. Let's wrap
Of
it
course,
up.
we'll
Thank you
see.
so much. And I'm
Yeah,
sure people probably enjoyed this discussion. We went deep into the
yeah,
church
I did.
history.
And to be honest, don't take anything on your heart. I don't mean anything personally to you. These
Mhm.
things do happen in debates.
Oh, no
Um,
problem. We
highs,
definitely,
lows.
yeah. And we should, and if I ever, I plan to come Pakistan sometime, and I'm definitely would like to meet with you. We could hang out, we could eat biryani together, sadak ki khana. My family, they've never had that street food in Pakistan. So definitely, I want to meet you, and we will definitely, yeah, for sure. We should always walk away as friends, not like what Sam Shimon and other people do. Okay, so yeah, okay. I'm gonna end the stream, and we can get going. Thanks a lot, Ahmed.
Yeah, of course. Thank
Okay,
you
bye bye.
so much.
You too.
Of course.
Bye.